Welcome, welcome, welcome on in, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? Hopefully, you guys are having a great Tuesday. Start to the work week. If you work outside the home, that is. But welcome in, everybody. I was at the pool earlier and it made me so exhausted. So I'm not going to even be on camera tonight. I look like a mess. I came back from the pool and I took a shower and I was like, I cannot even move. That sun was beaten down. Let me know if it was hot where you guys are. I'm sure it is. I mean, it's summer, but let me know. Let me know. Hey, Jan. And Cheryl, Mary Beth, she said she won't be here, but she wants to say hello to everybody. That was so sweet. Hey, Catherine. Tammy's in here. And look, unfiltered, that's me. I put that on my other channel. How are you doing, Mary Beth? ADM. Hey, Tony. How you doing? Ladybug and HGG. It's good to see you guys. Hey, Crystal. It's good to see you guys. We're going to talk a little Sebastian tonight. We'll let some people kind of fill in, get comfortable, get seated, get their drinks, get their food, whatever you guys are doing. I don't know, it's 8:20. What do you guys normally do? We usually aren't live yet. We normally usually aren't live yet. But I wanted to come live a little bit earlier tonight because we just have a lot to go over. And I wanted to go over the behavioral panel. Like I've been wanting to go over this for months. And I'm like, no, don't do it. No, don't do it. And then I'm just like, why don't you do it? Because you want to watch it anyway. Go watch it with your people. See what they say. So that's what we're here to do. 95 in North Carolina. It was, it's probably about the same here in Ohio. And that humidity, that's what gets you. That's what gets you, You can't breathe very well. Yeah. Which I don't have that problem anymore, thank goodness. But my breathing's been okay, but I know people that, have had bad breathing during this time of the year. And I was going to say something else. Bad breathing, it just makes me exhausted. The sun exhausts me. And thank you, Mary Beth, for gifting out 5 memberships. And welcome in, everybody. If you got a membership from Miss Mary Beth, make sure you tell her thank you. And thank you, NHGG. I appreciate that. I took that picture in a store that I used to work at, and I was feeling myself this day. Hey, Ninth Life. When you have an outfit and you feel like you just feel really pretty? That was that day for me. It was a Monday morning, too. I was like, I'm going to make sure everybody in this company sees this outfit. It was right during COVID, so. Hey, Debbie Clark. It was a cooker yesterday in Michigan. Yeah, it's been hot here. Humidity, yeah, and I live. The humidity is what gets me. My boyfriend's from California, so he's used to that dry heat where it gets super hot out there, but it's dry heat. It complete night and day difference. If you can do humidity, when you go out there, you're like, this is nothing. It would be like 100 degrees, and you're like, oh, for real? I could just be like, you could just lay out in it all day. I mean, it's insanity. The difference, 103 dry heat. I bet it's still, man, Mary Beth, that's hot. But it was like that. We went to California 2 years ago, I think it was. It was over 100. I think it was 107 or 109. Like we got, the car was up to, like I have a picture of it somewhere. It'll pop up and I'll share it with you guys when the memory comes up because we go every year, so. But welcome in, everybody. It's good to see you guys. I feel like I haven't saw you guys in a while, even though I was on last night. But I took a couple of days off before that, and there really just hasn't been a whole lot going on to do a full blown live. Before we get started in Sebastian's case, though, I don't know. I think that me and Nancy, we know each other, and we don't even know that we know each other because she'll do a case that I'm thinking of doing, or you know what I mean? And then I'll see it on her thing and I'm like, why is she even covering this? Because this one is an old case. So there's this case I've been wanting to bring to the channel for a while. And I think that I know we talked about bringing it, but I don't think we actually brought it to the channel when I first came about. But it is the case of Brian Schaefer. He was a college student at Ohio State up in Columbus. That's about an hour or so away from me. And he was going into a bar, and that was the last that anybody saw of him. and the bar has a cop that stands out front. I've been to that bar multiple times. There's a cop that stands out front when you go up the escalator. There's always an officer right there or one or two, and they're just like making sure everything's cool because there's like an AMC there, and then there's like this big bar. But there's only one other door that he could get out of, and that was under construction. So maybe I'll put that up as a poll and see if you guys want to cover it. It's really interesting. Really interesting. It's one of those like, and I saw Nancy did a podcast over it. So I was like, huh, look at that. Because I've been really, really wanting to go over that. Marilyn from Tarot Clarity. That's a long name. I have a long name too, I feel like. But welcome in, everybody. If I missed you, I'm sorry. Welcome in, Jill. Marilyn. I already said Marilyn. I just saw you at the top of the list. But thanks again for being here, guys. If you guys don't mind, take a second, just hit the like button. It does send this out to the algorithm, and it helps get Sebastian's, face and name and some trying to get some of the facts to y'all here. It's getting kind of hard. It's getting kind of hard. It's slim pickings. Everyone's kind of going after everybody, which I can understand. But I did want to review the behavioral panel and see what they thought of Chris and Katie during their first interview. Unless I'm missing it, I was trying to find a video of like not the behavioral panel per se, but somebody that liked that did this with Seth. Just analyzed his, behaviors, because I'd like to know the difference in the two. But I think this will be like a 2-part live because there's a lot of stuff I want to go through. There's some new videos that came out from Narc Divers, the search team that was down there at one point searching for Sebastian. I want to revisit some of Stevens, sorry, I'm going to call him Stefan because it's too close. Sorry. Steven's TikToks. He seems to have some things to say about Tony and Seth. And then a couple of videos claiming they've had updates and everyone's freaking out. They're taking these words out of context, and I'm just going to play it. And then I'm going to tell you what they mean by it, if that makes sense. Me too, Austin. Maybe we should write them and say, can you do one on Seth? We don't have the first interview. I think the first interview he's on the phone, but that's okay because the second interview with Katie and Chris, they're not on camera either. So those will cancel each other out, but I would really like to see one. Now, I didn't get to see all of this. I saw bits and pieces of it, and I was like, really been wanting to watch it. So where are we at? Okay, let me play this video here first. Let me share it with you. Actually, let me share this poster here, this missing person flyer. Because this is why we're here, How long has it been, guys? I wonder how. I know one of you guys probably know the exact date. The exact amount of days. Trev Time was so good about, putting the days on. But it's been months. We're going into a third season. We were in winter. We had spring. We're in summer. We're about to be floating into fall. A month and a half, but we need to find this boy. As everyone knows, he, Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, he went missing from Hendersonville. He went missing on February 26, 2024, and he was last seen at his mom and his stepfather's home on Stafford Court. Sorry. He was last seen wearing a black long sleeve type t-shirt, Adidas type workout kind of pants, basketball pants, and no shoes. If you know anything or you've seen anything, call 1-800-TBI-FIND. Don't call the Seth's hotline number because people have been doing that and it's not working out too well. I don't know why people would call. But I understand why people would call to see if it was still active, but it's like, what is going on here? What in the world is going on? Oh, Mary Beth, I'm so glad. You deserve all the compliments. I bet you look pretty. I bet it looks pretty with your hair color. Hey, Chosen, I meant to say hi to you, by the way. I saw you when you came in. I meant to say hi to you. I'm just reading what you guys are putting. I'm usually on camera so you guys can see what I'm doing. Yeah, I would love to see someone do one on set. That'd be nice. Okay, Debbie. And I can understand that. We've actually, I looked earlier and I was like, dang, we've covered 4 or 5 other cases since we've last covered Sebastian. It's been a while. I do have some questions though about these videos, so I'm gonna play them, and then I'm gonna get your opinion. Also, we are looking for, Sebastian Wade Drake Rogers. He is 5'5", 120 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. He has glasses that he normally wears. Needs them to see. Now, this clip here is from the other day. We played this live. It came out right before the live or during the live. And I'll tell you whenever we get to that part. I think it's right in the beginning.
A father refuses to give up on his missing son. 15-year-old Sebastian Rogers disappeared nearly 5 months ago.
Okay, right here. So I looked this place up, right? The Kid Kingdom. Now, I thought I was on here. If you guys were going to take your kids to a park, wouldn't you take them to a park that's close to your home? Mary Beth, thank you. Who got that? Chosen got that membership. I was hoping that would say Chosen. He deserves a gifted membership. He's been a member of the channel for a while. But so Kid Kingdom, I looked it up because I'm curious, and I was like, okay, let's see where that's at. So let me go share this here with you. So this is from Stafford Court up here all the way to Kids Kingdom Outdoor Playground. 15-minute drive, one way. And I was like, well, maybe they just don't have a lot of parks. So then I looked it up. How did I do that? Like this. There should be a little thing where it says like it'll let me. I want to see where it says more nearby. Well, this was a lot easier earlier. But it literally will show there's so many parks from his address to to his house to Memorial Park. And I'm just wondering why why they went to that park, and maybe it was a nicer park. I don't know. Maybe it just happened to be a really nice park. Chosen, thank you so much. You didn't have to do that. Thank you. Gifting out memberships left and right over here. Thank you so much. Yeah, Aries, I'm going to try to get back to a little bit earlier lives, I think. It said y'all were in here, so that's why I came. I was like, it said they was online. And I am going to try to make this map a little better for you guys. Let me put Sebastian's thing back up here because I don't want to do anything to myself where it shows my address, but I don't think it would. Okay. I did it really fast earlier and I was so surprised. I was like, look at me go. Kids Kingdom. The first address, and there's the Moscow. That's so sad. I'm trying to figure out if I can see how I do it. Oh. Is this how I did it? Okay. There we go. Now I figured it out. Okay, so this is Stafford Court up here. That's where, that's where they live. That's where Sebastian, his mom, and his stepdad live. And Henderson Park is all the way down here. Hendersonville, it's called Memorial Park. Now, I don't know, just there's so many different parks. Why would you go to the furthest one from your home? Maybe that's the one that maybe had kids that he liked to play with. I don't know, but I was just wondering. Oh, Marilyn, no reason. No reason. I just thought it was kind of weird. Just thought it was kind of weird that there was that many there was that many parks. Oh, and you drive to the furthest one. I don't know. And no meaning behind it. I just found it like, a little interesting. So let's go back over. That's all I had to show you with that. Actually, I want to play the rest of the video for you, but the Kid Kingdom. And I'm thinking this is the park that Seth took the video of Sebastian when he was little, like when he was a lot younger. I think this is the same park. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like it's the same one. And I'm wondering if okay, so I'm not a divorced parent, so I don't know, but maybe you guys are in your home. Would your child have a favorite thing to do with you as compared to like a favorite thing to do with his other or her other parent? Or would your child's favorite thing just be one thing in general? Like, my kid loves going to this park right here. Doesn't matter if he's with his mom or his dad. Like, that's what I'm trying to think of. Like, would kids think like that?
Appeared nearly 5 months ago, and his father, Seth, is still searching. Good evening and welcome to News 2 at 6. I'm Bob Mueller.
And I'm Haley Wilkes. Sebastian's father told News 2's Caitlin Quisenberry they're operating this like a recovery effort, even though he believes Sebastian is still alive.
Memorial Park was one of the first places Seth Rogers tells me he searched for his son, Sebastian.
Okay, so the recovery thing. Now, I just wanted to point this out because I didn't think I needed to when we watched this the last time. They're searching the water, guys. So they're going to be searching that water. And in my opinion, that is why Seth is saying he doesn't believe that his son is unalived. He believes that his son is out there. But he has to say, he has to know common sense tells him if I'm searching the water and he's been missing since February, if he's in this water, it's more of a recovery mission. Not saying in any means that, the stretch that he's, unalive. I mean, they are, but they're not, they're like, they're checking a body of water. It'd be like them, walking out into the woods where there's no cabins, no outside of world, and picking a spot and being like, he's here, but he's going to be fine. Like, so, I just wanted to point that out because a lot of people were confused about the recovery part. And not just is because of where they're searching.
He says this place.
I actually took up for Seth for that one.
Almost 2 months ago, this bridge was lit up in Sebastian's favorite color, green.
And I like that she's wearing that green dress.
In hopes of his safe return home. At that time, he had
Thank you, One Shot, for becoming a member.
Today, the search continues, almost 5 months later.
People think that we're not searching anymore. Well, they can think whatever they want. Our searches are private.
Seth tells me after a herniated disc surgery, it is back to boots on the ground. He says today.
Okay, the surgery thing. Okay, Seth, how are you doing it? How are you doing it? How are you able to drive that motorcycle when you just had surgery on herniated disc surgery? So I look it up because I'm like, being on the water, like, okay, so losing my eye, I don't know, it just makes things different. Or maybe it's the metal. But when you go like from water to like, being on the land is going to be different, or snow to the grass is going to be different. Well, let me get back over here so I can show you what I was trying to say. Sebastian's dad had surgery. How long has it been? 2 weeks ago, maybe? Because it's going to be a lot rougher on you. Hitting them waves. It's not going to be good for your back and for your arm and for your shoulder and for all the things. So down here it said, let me see what this is. Annulus. Okay, it says no boating until the annulus is healed. And that's like, I guess, the wound. Usually 2 to 3 months, depending on the size of the tear. Don't rush it. It may take months to as long as a year to a year. See, that's what I'm just like, how does he not have his arm in a sling? I mean, I'm not trying to, I'm just wondering. I'm just really concerned about this guy because I don't want him to be out there being like, get a photo op of me driving the boat and he's hurting himself at the same time. You know what I mean? That's not going to be good. Okay. I could do that. Okay, let's play him again. Oh, sorry. I thought it was up a little bit louder. I'm sorry, guys. Let me play that louder for y'all. I'm sorry. It was loud on my side.
Over 40 searchers, vetted by his private investigator, will be eliminating locations Sebastian could be in Middle Tennessee.
Now I don't really have much stopping me from getting out there and doing what I need to do.
You can see the wound on his neck. So when they did the surgery, they go in the front. I genuinely don't know. I don't want to know. Really, I don't want to know, but I'm going to look at him anyway. Yeah, you can see the bandage right there. And Seth, that has to stay dry, buddy. You can't sweat on that. Oh, good Lordy, you can't get water on there. Oh, can you imagine the smell? Oh. I've had too many surgeries. This is Seth. You need to have something else other than medical tape bandaging you up. He just has like the tape. He doesn't even have like the bandage part. Who's doing this to him? What in the worldy?
I'm doing what I need to do.
There's a refocus. We're trying to.
Can we put some money together to get Tony a new shirt? He's wearing the same green one every time.
Zero in on more specific information that we are gathering.
Seth tells me his search parties have become invite only due to chaos at previous searches.
They're private because we learned last time. We had people following my searchers around that were just handing out flyers, and it doesn't bode well for people who are trying to help to be put into hostile situations.
But he says the goal today is not to find Sebastian.
The search that we're doing today is a recovery effort, and I'm praying that we don't find him.
Seth says he believes his son is alive, but he added, some people still don't know Sebastian is missing.
We have to continue to hand out flyers until everybody knows.
Seth and Tony tell me they have one unanswered question for the Sumner County Sheriff's Office.
We think it's a valid question. We think it's a fair question. And that question is, are you any closer today to finding Sebastian Rogers than you were February 26th?
And for Seth, the answer to that question is no.
My son's not here, so we're nowhere closer.
That doesn't mean we're not closer. Doesn't mean we're not
If you
closer.
have seen
It means they ain't telling you nothing. They ain't telling you nothing, Seth. Night Star, hi Tanya he needs a Goodwill. He needs a Goodwill shirt. Well, shoot, Night Star, I might as well go to Macy's and get him one if I go to Goodwill. I heard everyone's going to Goodwill nowadays. So they're like jacking the prices up. Have you heard that? I've heard that. Okay, where are we? I had to run and grab a drink. Yeah, he probably shouldn't be out there. I'm sure disability is not going to be liking all that. His arm's literally on the other side of him. It's like not even where he's milking it, where he's using his left arm, his other arm. I mean, and he can't be on any medication. And he said he wasn't on his live because you can't be driving the boat and you can, but it's illegal. It's illegal to do those things, but you can. But I don't think that he's taken anything. He said he wasn't. Now, I don't know. Personally, if I was a man that size, right? And supposedly I woke up during surgery and they had to have like 2 or 3 men pile on top of me, I would be scared of pain. I would be scared of feeling pain. So I'd be like, give me the pain meds. I would take them. Now they came out with this video yesterday, and this is now this I don't know how to explain. I don't even know. I think they're just digging out stuff out of the Cumberland, and they're saying, "Hey, we found something." If you're looking in water, you're going to find things, but I don't know what they mean by things of interest. I think it's just to keep the news story out there. I mean, is it like the glasses again? Is it like the picture that Seth thought was Sebastian, but it wasn't? You know, like, what's this going to be? Is this a pair of pants that are in the river?
Also new information
Crazy.
after a search for missing teenager Sebastian Rogers. His father holding another search Thursday. Now, officials telling News 2 they wrapped today after 4 days of searching. Investigators also say they covered at least 20 miles on the Cumberland River and used side imaging sonar in their search. Now, we do know some things of interest were found, but they did not go into detail on what exactly they were.
New documents.
I wasn't ready to go to Stephen Stearns.
Also have new information after a search for a missing teenager
Well, that's
Sebastian
what I was saying,
Rogers.
sorry.
His father holding another search Thursday. Now, officials telling News 2 they wrapped today after 4 days of searching. Investigators also say they covered at least 20 miles on the Cumberland River and used side imaging sonar in their search.
Side imaging sonar. I know. I wonder, like, if narc divers could help us out with that. Like, what does that mean? Okay, I kind of can see what it means. It's like the images that we were seeing on him on TV showing. Like, let me open one of these. Like something like this, side by side, I guess. Man, that gives me the willies just looking at it. Like, I don't know about y'all, but just look. Like, I can't do the world when it comes to water. I'm sorry. I don't know what it is, but if something about it freaks me out. I couldn't be out there doing that, doing what he's doing. Bravo to him, really. I couldn't do it. Let me exit out some of the millions of windows that I have open for some reason. We already looked up that. And then Steven, do you guys know if Steven did like a live the other night? Because I'm like hearing snippets of it, but I didn't see it myself. But he does talk about like some of this, like he mentions it and he brings it up. So I think this one's brand new. Did he? Yeah, this was just an hour ago. Okay, so we'll do the ones from the last couple of hours ago just to see what he's saying. He has been searching by himself out there. I think that he's with a girl now, Psychic Sleuth or something like that. I'm not sure exactly what her name is, but he's out there with her. He seems to think she's, pretty good person. And so they're out there searching together. He hasn't been documenting his searches. Like he'll come on at night and do like a live, but he's not out there actively live searching or like live streaming while he's searching, which I felt like I could respect him a little more back, because he's trying to get himself out of that hole he created when he first came here, So let me see what this one is.
So
yeah, this is the one where he's just like talking about how he's going to be out and about around this area.
a lot of times I don't post these. I'll do a live explaining everything that I did or whatever. But here's some things I want to address real quick. Is one of the things that me and the Psychic Sleuth were talking about, Rochelle, is actually right here, this area right in here. So that is like part of the main channel. And what you got to remember is when it floods, a lot of rain, lots of torrential downpours, a lot of these inlets have like the little curves, right? They go into it. So stuff, especially in this river, stuff tends to go to those like little roundabouts is what I would call them. So what I'm doing is looking at everything underneath it. And then this will be one area that, that actually I've spent probably 3 days on it before I can say, hey, I don't see nothing that looks out of the ordinary. And I'm not going to tell y'all that, oh, I've got some stuff that I'm questioning. No, man. There's nothing in here. I'll just be straightforward with that.
And this is from 4 hours ago.
Oh, and if I did find anything, I definitely wouldn't tell anybody there's things I'm questioning. So, but one of the main areas that we're focusing on, Rochelle and I, is this area right behind right here. So I will let everybody know.
Look how big it
I
is.
find it, I'm a little aggravated, obviously, but we'll see how it goes from there. And when everything gets done, just try to move on to another location. Odie,
Man. Out there searching though. I'm surprised. I'm surprised he's been out there this long. I ain't gonna lie. I probably would have been like, I'm giving up for a minute. Just, I need a minute break. But he has been out there. I mean, maybe he has taken a minute. I don't know. Because I know that I'm pretty sure he has a child, and I know he has a wife. And so I'm pretty sure, he'd have to come home at some point. And maybe he does go home every night. I don't know if he's close to there or not for me to say, but it would just be like, where you been? So, okay, I think this one was another one that was kind of entertaining.
did y'all know that there's fabricators out there that don't even get paid for doing what they do? And
I'm gonna play this again because this is pretty funny. I'll give it to him.
Did y'all know that there's fabricators out there that don't even get paid for doing what they do? And I'm not talking about your normal fabricators like your steel fabricators or anything like that. It's crazy because it almost went over my head. And if you lean in, I'll tell you, they're the type that know how to take a molehill and turn it into a mountain, and they believe their own lies. Did you know that? And I really feel like these people should get paid for it because, dude, they can take the smallest of things and turn it into this imaginarily huge, exaggerated idea, and people believe it. It's crazy. I was sitting here wondering myself, like, damn, maybe I am related to the Bower Sox. But that can't be, right? My family's from Savannah, Georgia. I don't know anybody in Hendersonville. But, we got to believe them because.
Who said it? Who said Crabtree was related to the Bower Sox?
They do be fabricating some shit. Man, y'all got to do better, man. Y'all literally are believing absolutely just everything you hear. You take the smallest of things, like my
I heard that titanium built. I heard she's related to the Bower Sox.
Last name, because it's a Crabtree. You think that I'm related to the Crabtrees in Hendersonville for some odd reason. I'm not, man. And you know what's funny is if you wanted to pay for like my Jeep or whatever, you could. If you want to. I mean, I don't give a shit. I'm going to tell you, you will probably laugh your ass off when you realize how wrong you are. But then again, maybe that is the reason why you type of fabricators don't get paid, right? Because it's fabricated. It's a lie.
Because it's fabricated. It's a lie. There were a couple more. I'll have to look through these and see which ones are good to like play. But I want to go over to that Cajun Girls freaking page. Okay, because I'm on my other account. Because she kicked me out live. And I don't know why, but she did. But she did. And I didn't like it that one time. So I was just seeing if she was live. Because she is she's always with like Tony and all of that on TikTok. So has anyone seen him on TikTok lately? I haven't been on there to even really look. So let me know if you guys have seen him on there, what you've heard, what you've seen, because I really haven't. I've just been listening to, a couple channels here and there and just taking it all in. Just taking it all in. I'm blocked from most of Toxic Tony's crew. Yeah, so she's like, she's a TikToker, but she doesn't really bring anything to the. She's not bringing anything to the table really. She finally put some videos up, but they're like not even interactive. Like, you could do better. You could do a lot better. You can get people to click on those videos and not just scroll on past like they're going to. With like, I don't know. I think she could do a little better. She works with Tony, or not works with Tony, because sorry, he doesn't work. He's a volunteer. Very weird. I'm sorry, but that's just weird to me. But yeah, she gets on TikTok. She'll do like an 8-hour TikTok. We would always like tune in because we're like, oh my gosh, we're gonna get some like info about Sebastain because Tony's on there. And then it was basically Wienergate 2024 happened. Pooh Bear, you got blocked from JLR's channel. What'd you do ever on JLR's channel, Pooh Bear? Someone by the name of Pooh Bear. And I do TikTok like whenever I'm like posting stuff, like I get on there. That's about it. And when I go on there for you guys, like throughout the live. Well, that sounds good. Mary Beth's over here eating freaking amazing sounding good food. What was that? Chicken teriyaki? Ham cheeseburgers. Pineapple and ham cheeseburgers. Wow. Never had that before. Can't tell Mary Beth about nothing. She gonna put that pineapple and ham on whatever she wants to. Okay, so what I wanted to watch with you tonight was this, and it's actually we got through it faster than I thought. Or through the first part. So, and there was a couple other things I want to go over with you guys, but I want to wait till I get the receipts and stuff like that on them. I know that there's a hotline number out there that Seth put together. Remember Seth and Tony put the Google hotline number out there? Well, Granny's watching called it on her live the other day, and I must have missed that little bit, like that part, because I didn't hear about it until like later on, and I was listening through the live. So I must have missed that part where she had actually called. But a lot of people have a lot to say about that. Now, I mean, she called, she wanted to know if it was open. She got her answer, but I feel like other people that are doing the same thing, like following in her footpath or whatever, they probably shouldn't. It's a tip line, a hotline that's supposed to give out information, not give information. Also, I was listening to a live earlier today, and Terry Lynn, clear as day, is prank calling this tip line. This tip line is supposed to be for Sebastian Rogers tips related to Sebastian Rogers, and some of the things that her chat was telling her to put into this voicemail today that I heard today. It probably happened last night or whatever. It was disgusting, despicable. They're outrageous, egregious. It was wrong. I don't know however else to put it. It was just so many things, so many of the things. Thank you, Mary Beth. Hey, Pooh Bear, look at that. Subby. Sandwich. Look at that, subby and a sandwich. Let's see, Harley Rider. Subby and a sandwich got one. Look at that. That's funny. Okay. Let me pull this up from the behavior panel. And I'm going to look. I want to see if I can find something on Seth and see like about his body behavior, because I would like to know what somebody, like the behavioral panel or anybody that does body analysis. It's not an exact science, I don't think, but it's interesting to say the least. I think it's interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and play it. If you guys don't mind just taking a second, hit the like button, and we'll talk through this. And I might have it sped up a little bit. If I do, if it's too fast, let me know, and we can always slow it down. It's only on 1.25. Well, that looks.
Today, we're going to break down and analyze the behavior of the parents of a little fellow named Sebastian Rogers. Craig, what's tell us about the videos we're going to watch?
Yeah, so Sebastian Rogers is a 15-year-old missing teen who is somewhere in the autism spectrum. We'll learn that from the parents as they talk about it. He was last seen on February 26th. He left the house with no shoes, took a flashlight only. When we say left, we don't know how or when or with who or if with who. So we're going to watch this video and work through it. This investigation, this has now become an investigation. It was a massive search for several days, and we're going to look at the parents' first interview on 7 March of 2024.
So first, just express, I can't even imagine as a parent what you two are going through. How would you describe the situation right now? How are you coping?
We're on a constant roller coaster ride of helpless and hopeless and many other emotions all in one, and it's a never-ending roller
want to take that back. Let me see. I don't want to go like all the way back to the beginning, but okay. Well, I guess I did. Okay. So I wanted to get it like right whenever it's on them. So I want so I'm trying to get first impressions. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to wipe my head clean of everything we've heard, because a lot of it, everything of it isn't factual. But their behaviors are, you know, I mean, what's coming out of their mouth might not be factual, but their behaviors should be. Now, to me, when I first saw this tape, and y'all know when I first saw it, I said, she looks like a broken-hearted mom to me. She can barely talk. And you guys were like, you were not having it. You were like, she is lying. And I was like, really? I don't know. To me, it looks like despair.
What you two are going through. How would you describe the situation right now? How are you coping?
We're on a constant roller coaster ride of helpless and hopeless and many other emotions all in one, and it's a never-ending roller coaster. It doesn't stop. It won't stop until he walks through the door.
I wouldn't wish this on anyone. Not anyone.
I know we're about keeping hope alive. I'm sure that's in there somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
He's gonna
Always.
come home.
He's going to walk through that door. And this street will be flooded again with family and relatives all waiting to hug and love him. And
That boy's gonna have more friends than he knows what to do with when he comes home.
so,
all right, Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, so let's first start by talking about, there's so much information, disinformation, misinformation out there about this case, that what we're going to have to do is rely on what we can see. So what we're not doing is telling you what the facts are any more than we have learned from this channel or that channel. In the beginning, there were people saying that the father was left the night before. And then there are people who say had been in Memphis for 2 weeks, a stepfather. So there's a ton of stuff here. And what we're going to do is tell you what we see. Some of you are going to be irritated by it. That's okay. That's part of it. But what I want to start with is saying this guy's a tower crane operator. You know what a tower crane is? It's you climb up a really big ladder and operate a crane. You're moving stuff around over people's heads all the time. So if he's not as flappable, not as shaky, doesn't bother me, because I think, okay, here's a guy who does something that's kind of high stress for a living. That part's one thing. But what I am going to do is compare him to him, not him to me or him to Mark or him to Scott or him to Chase. We're going to look at what we see in him and look for deviations. In the beginning, she's doing an adapter that is awfully close to what I usually refer to as trancer. Trancer from a True Crime Workshop, where a person makes themselves emotionally unavailable to you by some kind of movement, by too much overwhelming emotion, but she isn't unaffected. She's available. So don't take that out of your mind that just because she's swaying means she's doing something. It means she's comforting self, because that release of nervous energy is comforting. There's a clear handoff from her to him. And if you don't think that's a handoff, you're not paying attention to what they're doing. That doesn't mean that she said, if I cry, if I laugh, if I do, you need to do this. It means that he sees that she needs that relief. Could be scripted, don't know. But his language in there is awfully wooden and awkward, which tells me that this is probably when they were thinking about, what are we going to say? He's going to say it's been an emotional roller coaster, because the language seems awkward. It doesn't seem accurate or upfront. It's okay, because that's what people do. There's also a couple of other little bitty pieces of body language, and then I'll go to something else, let you guys cover the rest. But he does that's fair, body language when he's asked the question that he should have considered about, I forget exactly what it is. Oh, yeah. When she says, there's still hope, right? And he's like, oh, yeah, there's hope. I should have said that, should have thought of that. That's what I see in that body language. There is, however, some really interesting body language when they talk about friends. And when they talk about a lot of people coming back, he's going to have more friends than he's had in the past. And her lead into that, the stress on that word friends, makes me wonder, was there some kind of an altercation about his access to people that she feels guilty for? She feels something about, because that comes up pretty strong in both their body language and in her stressing of the body language or of the word. Chase, what do you got?
Yeah, and to mirror Greg, we're here to analyze the behavior only of Sebastian's parents. And first and foremost, I want to emphasize that there's an outpouring of community support for Sebastian, and our focus is solely on understanding the behavioral dynamics of what's going on and how it might contribute to Sebastian's getting back home. So this is not about assigning blame or guilt. So we're just doing an opinion here to help in any way that we can. So with this rocking back and forth, I think it's a self-soothing behavior that people very often exhibit when they're under a lot of stress or they're going through some high level of anxiety.
My mama used to do it with her foot. She would shake her foot back and forth. And then one night I was helping her get to bed and she was just doing that with her foot. And I'm like, what are you doing? And she said she was rocking herself to sleep. So I do think that's a soothing mechanism. She's trying to soothe herself, trying to grasp, I think, what's going on.
A way for our body to comfort itself in the absence of external comfort. And then there's a smile when she turns to her husband here. And this is likely disbelief, not some kind of joy or happiness about the moment. This is why we talk about context and when those behaviors occur. It's so important. And for now, I'm just going to assume it's baseline until I see more with this rocking and stuff. And when she says he's going to walk through that door, or no, he says this, when he's going to walk through that door, there's a lip pursing behavior right there, which is a little unusual. We see this kind of lip pursing. And this is most often a nonverbal sign of disagreement or disapproval. And sometimes it's like a person's holding back something they don't want to say, or they're expressing doubt about what they just said. And they're not looking at each other and they're not responding to each other's statements. And I think this could be a sign that there's no rehearsal, but it could also indicate there's something going on between them, like some emotional drama, which I'm sure there is, especially if Sebastian's missing and they're both innocent. And in the videos we've seen like this one, where we do know the outcome, this behavior is more common in people who are innocent, but there could be more to see here. And I think this single behavior doesn't spell anything definitive. I'm not hearing his name mentioned yet, but if I hear minimal mention of a missing person's name, which you've heard us talk about before, and there's no other indicators, like big piles of indicators that indicate deception, it's just a data point. So I keep that in my back pocket until I see a cluster of behavior. Scott, what do you got?
All right. Thanks, man. I agree with you. I'm seeing a lot of the same things you guys have seen so far. But right out of the gate, there's a little something with each of them that bothered me a little bit. Like we were talking about before, doesn't mean they're innocent, doesn't mean they're guilty. Nothing. I'm just telling you what I see. We're just telling you what we see. He shows no emotion toward her whatsoever. It's a flat effect and no grief, no concern. And he looks really rested. And so that rocking she's doing back and forth. We see this throughout all the videos we're going to see today. What we'll look for during this, pay attention to this, is fascinating the way this works. You'll see them rock in tandem a few times, especially at the beginning of the first one to answer. As she's rocking, he'll start rocking with her. So he's matching her rocking. And I'm sure, like what you were talking about, Chase, the emotional thing between them is she may have just sealed herself off. She's probably in such a big upheaval of emotion. She's short with him. He's trying to be cool because she's worried about a kid, is what I would think. That's what I took out of that. Her eyes are red. She's not rested. She looks like she should look. And that upheaval emotion that we see, she's suddenly reliving that horror. I always talk about that on here, how we're not seeing that. So that's one of the things we're seeing with someone who we haven't seen with people who aren't innocent. She's got a new Kleenex. Now, if you remember, the last person we looked at that was crying and all that stuff, constantly wiping their eyes and doing their nose with the same Kleenex. And it's just this balled up little ball. Hers isn't, it's new. And notice how many times during these videos, she doesn't wipe tears and she doesn't wipe her nose. She only does it a couple of times because those are the times that she needs it. People who are faking this usually are in the impression, I should have tears coming out, so I'll keep doing this. And notice when she uses that Kleenex here at the first, where she just does it on the top of her nose. So I thought that was interesting as well. Not saying she's innocent, not saying she's guilty, but these are just things that I'm noticing anyway. And then she's not looking at him at all. Doesn't look at him at all, but he does look at her as they go through. So, all right, Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, very much the same. Look, time has passed since they had, notified the police, and this interview is happening. Maybe as much as, what do you think, Greg, like 8 days or something like that?
Yeah, 8 days, 8
Yeah,
days.
around about that. Around about that. Okay, so look, it's time for them to organize a story together if they wanted to. So yeah, look, they could organize a story together. What they can't organize is the synchronicity of their movement. That choreography would take a lot of rehearsal, and it's consistent. She rocks back and forth 3 times. He breathes in and out. There's this waltz timing going on throughout. You can't rehearse that stuff. They're absolutely in synchronous movement. That would suggest, just as you're saying, Scott, that there is a shared experience, a shared emotion. You know, if there wasn't anything shared, it would be very hard to organize that subtle synchronous level of
one thing I did miss though was that they do look at each other in that one. I for a second I thought we're looking at number 2. They look at each other for about 2.5 seconds on this one. So sorry about that. Sorry to jump in, but I had to make sure I said that.
Sure. They also talk about hope. You know, Chase, to your point of there is something unsaid. You know, there's a possibility here of a loss of hope and a sense of hope at the same time, having to balance the 2 things together, hold those 2 ideas. You've got to remain hopeful at the same time. You may be losing hope. So I think they talk about hope, though. There's some closed lips there from the male, from the father. He uses the idea of that boy rather than maybe she does as well. We're not often throughout this going to hear Sebastain named, often called that boy. I would suggest that's more likely cultural than them trying to distance themselves. It's more likely a term of endearment. That's all I got on that one. Early days, but looks to me pretty good from moment one, just on the synchronicity that they have together, which is tough to organize. That they could have organized a story. That's all I got on that one.
Yeah, one thing to add, when we're all talking about this and synchronicity and all that, is couples get to a certain behavior mark, to your point. He knows what to expect. He knows that how many times she's going to sniffle, how many times she's going to cry, what she's going to, he probably has some of that already in his head from the amount of time they're together. And we do it on a subconscious level even at some point.
And couples are in sync when they're being honest. They fall out of sync during those times when we're pretending.
That's one of the things that bothered me doing this. As when we first started this, I'd made up my mind. I knew I had made up my mind about something in this, and I'm just not sure about it at this point. But that's one of the things that swayed me on it.
One of those tape replays.
So first, just express, I can't even imagine as a parent what you 2 are going through. How would you describe the situation right now? How are you coping?
Right there, that's
We're on
the
a constant
question.
roller coaster
Okay,
ride of
I was hoping they would
helpless
do
and
that
hope.
again. It's the question. She's probably gotten asked that question 100 times since her kids went missing. How are you coping? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? So she does this, in my opinion, I'm not a behavioral analysis person, but she does this like almost like looks to Chris to say, we're hearing this stupid ass question again. And she goes, like she almost like smiles and laughs but it's like almost like she's releasing the nervous energy. That's just me. That's how I took it. But we'll put it back. I'm autistic as hell. Yep. Can't blame it on that. Because your girl's sitting up here with, I mean, I'm doing it.
And
we're all different, but
we're on a constant roller coaster ride of helpless and hopeless
Oh.
and many other emotions all in one. And it's a never ending roller coaster. It doesn't stop. It won't stop until he walks through the door.
I wouldn't wish this on anyone. Not anyone.
I might have went back too far.
I know we're about keeping hope alive. I'm sure that's in there somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
He's gonna
Always.
come home.
He's going to walk through that door. And the street will be flooded again with family and relatives all waiting to hug and love him. And
All too far.
That boy's gonna have more friends than he knows what to do with when he comes home.
So here we are, 8 days now searching for him. Walk us through that Sunday night that he went missing. So walk us through, we've got so many people who really want to know, okay, how did this happen? So kind of just walk us through that night.
We were out and about that day. We were having a really good weekend. We got home. Everything was pretty normal. He was playing in his room. when I told him to go to bed, he did. He said, "Good night, Mom. I love you." Say good night to his puppies. A little bit later, I wound up going to bed, and when I woke him up for school, he wasn't there.
So in your mind, that's usually around what time? When do you normally wake up? Around 6 o'clock?
6.
So were you instantly thinking something's wrong, or were you like, he may just be already in the shower?
I took a second and walked through the house looking for him in case he'd gotten up and was trying to get breakfast or something, because he did that sometimes. About 3 minutes in, give or take, I was on the phone with my husband. I said, "I can't find him." He said, "What do you mean you can't find him?" I said, "He's not in the house."
And so at that point, is that when you call 911? What's going through your mind?
While we were on the phone, and I was like, "Is he on the other side of the bed?" The normal places he may be in the house, and he wasn't. So I was like, "Okay, well, hold on a minute." And immediately after that, we called the sheriff's department and made the report.
I ran all over the house, outside, inside. I looked in every closet.
Within minutes, they were here. They responded within minutes, and here we go.
All right, Chase, what do you got?
There's one line in here that got to me when I was watching it, and it's, "When I woke him up for school, he wasn't there." Reminds me of a sheriff in Texas who said, "It'll kill you big enough to die." So some strange wording, but it's an outlier. So let's look into it. This could be habit, the way that she speaks and references this action, and this could be indicative of him being present or being there. I'll let you decide if you feel like jumping to something right away. A lot of people feel good about doing that. At this point in the clip and in the videos, I'm not seeing a typical amount of behavior here that would make me suspicious. And at the 8-day mark, they're still expressing some signs of hopefulness, which is good to see. They're looking at each other more here, as I would want to see. They're more willing to look away from the interviewer and connect during these critical parts of their recollection. And the stepfather, is detailing going through a search of the house comfortably with added detail that we'd expect to see in innocent people. And in a case of somebody who's guilty, I would more expect to see that somebody would not want to go backward from the 911 call to add more details. And if you notice, that's what happens here. They go backwards. So he's comfortable doing this. It's a good sign. And when a piece of a story comes out that's rehearsed and false, the story is, it's super hard to go backward. And often you'll see people are more likely to be guilty, feeling this internal pressure to continue down the path of what makes them comfortable. And what makes them comfortable is something that they've rehearsed. So the father's using comfortable hand gestures that are timed with his speech. The mother is using her eyes and head comfortably to illustrate searching the house. And earlier, we talked about the mother's rocking back and forth and that we need to pay attention to it. This part here is where I wanted to look. And when there's a critical part of a story coming out that's deceptive, this takes up so much mental energy to be deceptive that the body would stop rocking to focus the mind on the story. She keeps rocking through it. And what I'll be looking for from a profiling perspective is when the rocking stops. Blink rate, gestures, facial expressions, and movements are all in line with somebody being truthful and honest. One big thing to notice is that there's no focus in either of them on managing perception and exaggerating the sadness and grief. Those are the two big things we see in just about, I think, maybe 100% of these videos. Manage perception, exaggerate the sadness and the grief. We're not seeing those two big hallmarks. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, when I asked him to go to bed, he did, and there's a little bit of an exhale of laughter around that. So a release of tension around that. My guess is, and I'm speculating here, is you've got a male here reaching teenage, more testosterone, therefore more obstinate on the spectrum as well. So that can exacerbate the routines and the sense of risk as well, doing things that are more risky. Obviously, we know that levels of testosterone, as they go up, we see less risk in the world. We'll take more risks the more testosterone that we have going around our body. That's why if you're a male, a male will have a propensity on the aggregate to create more testosterone than a female. Not every day, but most days, if you aggregate all males together. And that's why you will pay more for your driving insurance, especially if you're anywhere between 15 and 23, because you see the world as less risky the more testosterone you're creating in your body. So just a little behavioral thing there of we've maybe got a male here that is seeing less risk in the world. And so it's interesting to the mother that she asks him to do something and he does it. So, no blame though to the child. He's not a runner. He's a good kid. He's not mischievous. You know, often in examples where we do see parents involved in some way or holding back information, there will be some level of blame placed around the kid. Here, we've got no level of blame. Look, let's just look at the male here. We're not going to see grief in the forehead here because the guy's wearing a cap and he's shaded as well. So we're not seeing some of the areas of the body that we would like to see if we're to see grief, if grief is there at all. I don't know whether it is or not. We may see it in other parts of the face, but we're not going to see it in the forehead here. I don't know why. There's a deep exhale. I don't know why he walked out that door. Deep exhale there. So there's clearly a pause there before why he walked out the door. What's that about? I don't know. I'm not a mind reader, but clearly there's a pause for thought about the idea of him walking out the door. Is it a pause for thought about the possibility that he was walked out the door in some way or taken out the door in some way? I don't know, but certainly there's a pause. There's a moment taken there. Greg, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, Mark, interesting. You bring up the whole, we can't see his forehead, so we can't tell if there's grief. But I do see something interesting in the beginning. I see a grimace, kind of a grimace in his face and a deep swallow. We usually associate those with really strong negative emotion, usually. Now, it could be something else. But we just came out of the last video and into this one, so it's related to that last question around the kid. So I think it's still there. His blink rate is really low. I think part of that is his baseline. If we watch, he does a flutter occasionally, but when she starts to bring up so many people, I think this is a hot button for him. We'll find out later. When she does that, his blink rate jumps. It pulses right through the roof. And he goes into internal voices. She's talking and mills his hands. Now, here's where people automatically say that means he's lying. Well, for us, it means something's going on in his head. He's milling his hands. We don't know why. We can see it. We can't see his hands. We know he's feeling stressed, but there's a missing kid involved. Mark, to your point, we don't know their relationship. We don't know any of that. One interesting and odd part of body language to me that does occur. She says, we had a really good weekend. And he's down to his left in internal thought and disengaged with his eyes. And then he raises his head and nods yes. Well, if he's not home, how does he know what that was? Or is he just supporting her is the question. So we'll look for a pattern of that, looking for where he's trying to endorse something versus just supporting what she's saying. We really can't tell. And I agree with you, Mark, when the mother laughs about he did go to bed, he's been defiant. Clearly, you can tell that. And here's an interesting one. I've tried to find out whether he was home, whether he was away at this time. She says, I went to bed. I, not we, I. So interesting. That means sounds like he wasn't home. She would have to be very thoughtful and use the pronouns if she was going to cover that. And then let's see. If you listen to her cadence slow, Chase, I'm with you 100%. We always talk about these guys managing perception. If we go back and look at the Madeline Soto case, the stepfather managing perception, the mother managing perception, none here, none of it. They're just going on about their business. And he's using big illustrators when he's telling the details of the story. Bray says larger indicators indicate more likely being honest. And then she uses big illustrators with her face. She's going from outside to inside. So those things are good. All those pieces start to look good. Only a couple of cues. Chase, yours, the word pattern shift is weird. I went to woke him up. And then the one with the endorsing with his head movement or saying, yes, we did have a good weekend. Can't figure out which it is. We'll figure out and watch as we go. Scott, what do you got?
Yeah, I woke him up and he wasn't there. I agree. I think that's cultural. Because people talk like that, and I'm from there, not Hendersonville, but from the South in this area, and spent many years, in that area. Know a lot of people in Hendersonville. That's the way they talk, and so I wouldn't think there's much to that. Maybe, I don't know, but that's the way I'm looking at it. What bothers me about this is he said we called 911, and then when the sheriff's department showed up, he said they showed up within minutes and here we go. So it's this lateral logic thing where you're presented with some facts and you assume the dad is home during that, like when all that's happening, where he couldn't possibly be home if she just found out and called him and then he came, and then when he was in, where was he? We found out in
Memphis.
Georgia?
Yeah, but Memphis. But let's also realize this is a thing we deal with all the time. If that were the case, Wendy Adelson, and that whole thing would not be an issue. You don't have to have proximity to have involvement. So yeah, I think it's fair to still look at him as if, right?
Yeah. So it still makes me wonder, when I first started this, I was under the impression he was at home that night and then went to Memphis that morning. So I figured maybe he's the last one to see the kid. And I went down this road of looking at him from an entirely different angle and couldn't believe how relaxed he was. And I thought, this is a cool dude, man, because he's so relaxed. And so, but there were some things, if you look at it from that angle, you'll say, you know what? I think this guy there might be something up here. But if he's been in Memphis 2 weeks, then they don't hold up to that. So it could go either way. But anyway, back to the lateral logic thing. You're given information, but there's that one little piece missing. You don't get in there and look for that one little piece of information, and you accept everything and move on without thinking about it. And that's what I had done. And I love lateral logic, so I can't believe that got by me. But they don't, and this one, they don't look at each other or touch each other either. She's leaned back or leaned forward as a a grieving person usually does. That's totally normal. He's leaned back a little bit. That's another thing that made me think about him some. But he's probably, he's not as emotionally involved in this as she is because it's not his real son. I know that sounds horrible, but there's a big difference there when you're mad at this. You say you don't get along with this kid's father. And I don't know how long these two have been married. May not be very long. Maybe he doesn't have a good relationship with the child, so that could be the reason for that. We're not seeing any comparable stress on him at all. He looks fairly relaxed, which makes me think he's so relaxed that he's not worried about thinking, I did this, I've got to watch it. Back to perception management. They're not doing any of that at all. It's like they don't care, because if you didn't do it, you shouldn't care. There's no reason to do that. So that's really interesting. His voice doesn't sound stressed. He doesn't show any upheavals of emotion or any emotions at all, really, as he goes through this. He does look at her a few times throughout the interview, but she never looks at him outside the 2 times that we'll see them look at each other when they go through here. But neither one has said the child's name yet. Doesn't mean anything. Some, in this situation may not mean anything, but we haven't heard his name yet, except from the interviewer.
One of those tape replays.
So here we are, 8 days now searching for him. Walk us through that Sunday night that he went missing. So walk us through, we've got so many people who really want to know, okay, how did this happen? So kind of just walk us through that night.
We were out and about that day. We were having a really good weekend. We got home. Everything was pretty normal. He was playing in his room. When I told him to go to bed, he did. He said, "Good night, Mom. I love you." Said goodnight to his puppies. A little bit later, I wound up going to bed. And when I woke him up for school, he wasn't there.
So in your mind, that's usually around what time? When do you normally wake up? Around 6 o'clock?
6.
So were you instantly thinking something's wrong, or were you like, he may just be already in the shower?
I took a second and walked through the house looking for him in case he'd gotten up and was trying to get breakfast or something, because he did that sometimes. About 3 minutes in, give or take, I was on the phone with my husband. I said, "I can't find him." He said, "What do you mean you can't find him?" I said, "He's not in the house."
And so at that point, is that when you call 911, or what's going through your mind?
While we were on the phone, and I was like, "Is he on the other side of the bed?" The normal places he may be in the house, and he wasn't. So I was like, "Okay, well, hold on a minute." And immediately after that, we called the sheriff's department and made a report.
I ran all over the house, outside, inside. I looked in every closet.
Within minutes, they were here. They responded within minutes, and here we go.
So you said you were on the phone with her, so you were not home?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I was at work. I'm a tower crane operator, and I was working in Memphis at the St. Jude project. So it's, I have an earpiece in that talks to my phone. I have another earpiece in that does the radios. So when she was talking to me, I was like, "What?" I was confused. We talked about where he could possibly be, and then we went from there and led to calling the cops, and here we are now.
Within minutes, they're there at the home.
Yes, ma'am.
It was rapid fire. They had cars. They had cars from here down to the
main
road, as far as I could tell.
So what's going through both of your minds? I mean, are we panicking? Is it this, I think he's probably at a neighbor's house, or what are you thinking?
My son doesn't run. He's not a runner. He's never run away before. I don't know why. I don't know why he walked out that door.
I mean, he's a good kid. He's not a mischievous child by any means. But there's answers to questions that have no answers, or questions with no answers right now that we are searching for desperately. And we just don't have that.
Chase, what do you got?
One thing I would really expect to see with these questions that are being asked is what we call target locking behavior. And this kind of pairs in with something called confirmation glance. And this one behavior I've seen in somebody who's guilty every time they have this behavior. And it's typically during 2 super key points here. And the first one is when a super critical question is being asked that can help them to shape their perception a little bit when their innocence can be displayed. Second is during and just after their answer to make sure that the interviewer believes it. And we're not seeing any of this here at all. When she's talking, he is comfortable looking at her. And this is more common in innocent people, where guilty people want to do 2 things. Number one is keep an eye on the interviewer. And two, avoid looking like they're influencing or persuading the other person by looking at them. I know it's irrational, but that's what the fight or flight brain believes. Mother and father or stepfather have an equal amount of exasperation with not being able to understand why he's missing. And the mother is comfortable guessing he walked out the door instead of introducing and injecting ambiguity and uncertainty about some course of events. So that's very good. So keep in mind, when we see small behaviors like Greg talking about him grabbing his arm just a second ago, one of the reasons we talk about clusters so much, pointing out one behavior in isolation is next to meaningless. We've got to have these little clusters of behavior for anything significant to come out of it. That's all I got here, Scott.
All right. Yeah, I agree. It's this in this video. It's hard not to go over the same stuff, so I'll try to knock out a bunch of the same stuff. But Greg, I agree with you. When he's scratching his arm, it seems like something's up there. I think all that's happening here is he's trying to find something to say, so he'll have something to say. I don't think he's a big talker when it comes to tell us what you think about so and so. I don't think he's one to drone on and on. So I think for each one of these situations, he's just looking for something to say. He's just trying to be involved, trying to say something.
Scott, one thing I would add. I think it's really easy to pick a thing and lock down, and not just forget body language, the scratch. The whole point I was making is that, and then he opens up. So there's a difference. It's also the same thing. Why didn't you choose this question instead of that question? Well, people are under stress. They make different decisions. And this is the reason, like statement analysis, you got to be really careful with where you assign words to people based on where they're from and all that kind of stuff. Just a thought.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And then when he's trying to look more concerned than he's very concerned. Don't get me wrong, but he's trying to look concerned. And I'm under the impression that because he looks concerned for a second, then he goes away fairly quickly. Real emotions stick, even though he's feeling these emotions. He's not deep in it like his wife. And my father always said, if in a marriage, if one of you is in the ditch, in other words, one of them is down, so got a lot of stuff going on, you can't get in the ditch with him, or you'll both be in the ditch. So he may be one of those guys. It's like trying to stay out of it and trying to be I'm the guy here and I'm going to take care of everything. So that could be what we're seeing as well, which I'm tending it starting to look like that a little bit for me. But he doesn't really even answer the question there. It's just, he doesn't even answer it. And of course, she goes along showing the same emotional transmissions and transmitting the same thing that she has been at this point. So nothing's changed much for her. She's just showing us all the body language of a grieving mother. Try not to repeat stuff you guys just said. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, just one thing is that when he was talking about being up in that crane tower early in the morning, receives the call, he's got his walkie-talkie in one ear and his phone in the other ear. I kind of thought, wow, that's pretty early to be working. And then I realized Mrs. Atwood out the back here, she's got a tower block being built behind her place, and I can see the crane as we speak, and it's moving around. And that starts as soon as the sun comes up. So I don't know at what time the guy must climb up that, in the dark, which wouldn't be a job that I would want to do any day of the week. So look, often we don't understand the working times of other people, what their work is like. And it's very easy if they're doing something which is outside of our scope for us to go, well, that's really odd behavior, until we look around and go, for their life, it's not odd behavior at all. That's all I got on that one. Let's have another.
I have a buddy. Check this out. A buddy named Kyle, and his sister, his sister Kira met one of those guys as he was climbing, going to the tower. She could see him from their window, and as he climbed the thing, and every day she would see him doing that. Make a long story short, they got married. He'd go up again, down again, all that stuff, and she'd see him every day a couple of times, and they got married.
I don't know whether I see the same relationship for Mrs. Atwood and the crane driver.
Another Atwood incident.
One of those tape replays.
So you said you were on the phone with her, so you were not home.
No, ma'am. Okay. I was at work. I'm a tower crane operator, and I was working in Memphis at the St. Jude project. So it's, I have an earpiece in that talks to my phone. I have another earpiece in that does the radios. So when she was talking to me, I was like, what? I was confused. We talked about where he could possibly be, and then we went from there and led to calling the cops, and here we are now.
And within minutes, they're there at the home.
Yes, ma'am.
It was rapid fire. They had cars. They had cars from here down to the main road, as far as I could tell.
So what's going through both of your minds? I mean, are we panicking? Is it this, I think he's probably at a neighbor's house, or what are you thinking?
My son doesn't run. He's not a runner. He's never run away before. I don't know why. I don't know why he walked out that door.
I mean, he's a good kid. He's not a mischievous child by any means. But there's answers to questions that have no answers, or questions with no answers right now that we are searching for desperately. And we just don't have that.
Is there anything that happened that day that you think back and there might have been a reason he was possibly upset or something outside that could have enticed him to go outside? Was there anything that came to mind?
We've been combing over that day and even the weeks before he left, and I hadn't been able to figure it out. He's that morning he was laughing, he was joking. Everyone we were around that day agreed that he seemed like he was in a good mood. He was behaving. It'd make more sense if we'd been fighting.
Or he'd been in trouble, but he hadn't been in trouble. So, the $1 million question, why did he go? And the other $1 million question is how.
What about social media? Is there anything that, anyone he could have contacted? Understand he was somewhat of a gamer, or what was he? There was a video game he loved, right?
Minecraft. He loves Minecraft. The game that he has is not online. He has the Switch.
We don't, because of how social media can be, he doesn't have accessibility to communicate with folks on internet. I mean, we have a firm belief that we just don't feel that right now he's capable of having that kind of responsibility. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, his phone is locked down, his computers, his gaming, he doesn't have a gamer tag. He doesn't have online capabilities with games.
We've combed every electronic. I mean, we've cooperated with all the authorities as far as anything they've asked us to provide, we've provided, and still just don't have any answers.
Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, the $1 million question, or the other $1 million question, how? How did he go? And we get quite a cluster of gestures in the face there and gestures with the body. We've got kind of a closed lip frown, which turns up at one side, almost in kind of a contempt kind of way. We've got, certainly it's an asymmetrical gesture by any stretch. Hands go out in a shrug. There's a sideways look on that. Well, so it's quite a shift from what he's done before on how did he go. I would suggest what he's saying here is that he feels that's the question. How did he get out there? That's key. And I guess at this point, it's moving from a search to an investigation. And so I guess he's putting the stress on this. The how needs to be investigated, not the where is he. Where is he? They don't know where. They haven't found him at this point. We now need to go back and work out how did he leave. And it's maybe, I would suggest the stepfather is saying he didn't leave potentially on his own, or that's a possibility that needs to be looked at. If somebody's to think he's guilty of something, that's an interesting place to go. If you're guilty, to go, let's investigate this. Let's work out how he left, to put stress on that. If I were guilty of something happening in that house, I'd want people to be looking out, not in for stuff. Greg, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, I agree with you, Mark. There's a whole lot of adapting, and when they're asking him any reason, he's feeling awkward, you can tell. But this guy also, if we pay attention to him, most of his eye movement, the entire thing is going to be down left, where we think of that as internal voice, as he's digesting questions and how things are behaving. I don't think it means he's calculating and doing all that. He's now moving, and he's got a heavy internal voice, and his respiration's up. I think this is the crux of the matter. What happened to this kid? Where did he go? I think some of what you see in that kind of contempt or twisted face is when they call him a gamer. I think he's thinking, that might be a stretch. He plays a game and he does this. He doesn't have a tag. What would be interesting for me is we all know that people who are on the spectrum, those especially who are really profoundly affected, often can be very good at remembering exact things. I would check the father. He's used the word he has no gaming tag. Father may have his own accounts. Kid may have ability to get into that, figure out how to make contact with people in a way that he doesn't understand. So I'd look at all that kind of stuff. But she's certain that this kid left. She appears to be certain. Now, we all know that when someone is missing, it's a lot easier to think that they left than they were abducted or somebody did something to them. So it's always a way of holding out hope. And Chase, I agree with you earlier with his pursing lips when he was saying he's going to come home. We're going to see a little bit more of that later. I think this guy is a very practical, very pragmatic person in appearance, and maybe that's where he's at. But the dad's then goes to internal and emotion, as they're starting to say, how did he get out? That's when, Mark, I think you're seeing all that behavior. Like, I don't know. How would he get out of here? And I agree. He wouldn't come into my house and look and see if you can find how he got out. That would probably be the last place you want to go. When he does here's one thing that you shouldn't do. When somebody says, hey, tell me whether you're innocent, and you say, we're cooperating with the police. That doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. And that's the one thing, one of the first things I saw about this in the beginning was a little clip from him on one of the news channels that says, "We're cooperating with the police." That immediately gets your hackles up and you go, well, we better go check and find out what's going
Oh my God, did you see his cup? His cup has a picture of his face on it. Oh my Lord. Is that what I'm seeing? Put your cup back up.
You shouldn't do. When somebody says, hey, tell me whether you're innocent, and you say, you're cooperating with the police, that doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. And that's one thing. One of the first things I saw about this in the beginning was a little clip from him on one of the news channels that says, we're
It looks like him.
cooperating with the police. That immediately gets your hackles up and you go, well, we better go check and find out what's going on with this guy. Scott, what do you got?
All right. Yeah. When talking about the father, she says, about the real father, she says he talks to his son on a regular basis. Now, a lot of times you'll see that and go, oh, it's something wrong. I think the mother and the father, obviously, they're divorced. There's probably a little rift going on there. So when she's talking about that, she probably calls him his son. Yeah, you come get your son. You do that. That could be, it may not be, but I think maybe that's why she's using that instead of saying the child's name. He's adapting with his hands, and she's still rocking, and he gets in.
I can hear my brother right now saying, come get your son. To his wife. Like, I could see my brother just saying that. Like, I don't know why, but I can. I bet you he does too. I bet you he does. Come get your kid, because that's what he used to say to him. He'd say, that's my mom. Come get your kid.
Sync with her for a second, but his breath rate goes up, and it's fairly heavy for a second. But because I can't decide this one, like I told you before, I'd gone down a whole road that I've got more information. It's like there's no road there, and his eyes are darting around, so that makes me it puts me a little off there for that question there. Then he looks at her again, and she never looks at him. Then he adds another cornball answer to that $1 million question. And the same thing for the second $1 million question. What happened, and how, where'd he go and how? My question would be, what happened and where is he? But you may not think like that along those lines when you're in that position. And like you were saying, where'd the question about cooperating with all the authorities come into play? Where do we hear that? He just threw that in there. I didn't see any place to even spark that as he went through. So maybe he's, I don't know, maybe he's worried about that. I can't really tell. But his so far his innocence has been in question here. So why would he add that? That makes me suspicious there. And then again, toward the end, they start sinking together as they're rocking. Chase, what do you got?
Yeah, I agree. And when he says it make more sense if we had been fighting, the statement is really revealing. There's a good chance parents who are involved would be far less likely to bring up any mention of fighting or anything negative. They tend to default to pretending that everything was perfect, nothing bad ever happens. The dad also mentions him being in trouble, which is also a good indicator that he's genuinely missing here, because it's not trying to pretend to be perfect. There's a strong confirmation glance after the mother says the word switch, and she's looking over to him right at that moment when she's talking about the Nintendo machine. This is most likely to see if the reporter, or she looks to the reporter to see if the reporter knows even what that is, because it's probably still a foreign object to the mom. So she's making sure the reporter knows it. Then they're talking about not having the answers. This is common. They're not introducing finality, complexity, or ambiguity into the situation. There's a huge difference between being at a total loss for what happened and what we've seen in other videos where the parents speak in terms of the case being unsolvable, all resources have been exhausted, everything that could have been done has already been completed. This is very different than that. So their behavior overall is apathetic and sad, and not concerned with displaying emotion and managing perception. Those are the two big things that are missing here. There's not a lot of display of emotion, deliberate display, and managing perception. And keep in mind that nothing we say means anybody's innocent. And in all of our videos, people tend to think we're analyzing people or the case, but we aren't. What we're telling you in every video is about the presence or lack of behaviors. So if you hear somebody say anywhere on YouTube that they believe something and they don't point to the observable behavior into what they're saying, then you're hearing opinion about the person, not the behavior. So keep this in mind if you're watching anybody, and ask yourself, do they refer to what they think to specific and something that's actually observable? And y'all talking about him going into the how, I would say with him talking to police in 90% of these cases, if you find out the how, that usually leads to where. So that might be something he picked up from the detectives. Mark, what do you got?
I've been.
All right.
I think we're all done. Yeah.
Oops. Go back.
That's a good one. We need that because this is a dark subject.
That's all.
12th of March, 2024, the longest mute ever. Greg Hartley, ladies and gentlemen.
at 2:48 p.m. Eastern Time.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful.
God bless.
One of those tape replays.
Is there anything that happened that day that you think back and there might have been a reason he was possibly upset or something outside that could have enticed him to go outside? Was there anything that came to mind?
We've been combing
Thank
over
you guys
that
all for
day
being
and
here.
even the weeks before he left, and I don't.
Just want to thank everyone for being here tonight. I appreciate it. If you guys don't mind just taking a second, hit the like button, all the buttons, subscribe, share, all those things, you know. And I'll be in the chat with you guys.
I hadn't been able to figure it out. He's that morning he was laughing, he was joking. Everyone we were around that day agreed that he seemed like he was in a good mood. He was behaving. It'd make more sense if we'd been fighting.
Or he'd been in trouble, but he hadn't been in trouble. So I mean, the $1 million question, why did he go? And the other $1 million question is how.
What about social media? Is there anything that, you know, anyone he could have contacted? I understand he was somewhat of a gamer, or what was he? There was a video game he loved, right?
Minecraft. He loves Minecraft. The game that he has is not online. He has the Switch.
We don't, because of how social media can be, he doesn't have accessibility to communicate with folks
on the internet.
I mean, we have a firm belief that we just don't feel that right now he's capable of having that kind of responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, his phone is locked down, his computers, his gaming. He doesn't have a gamer tag. He doesn't have online capabilities with games. I mean,
we've combed every electronic. I
mean, we've cooperated with all the authorities as far as anything they've asked us to provide. We've provided, and still just don't have any answers.
Did he have any friends that could have possibly contacted him in some way on his phone?
All his friends at school have been questioned to my knowledge, and none of them knew anything.
So this big question mark. He's vanished.
Yes, ma'am.
No one can figure out where or why. All right. So let's talk too about the relationship involved, because the biological father is very much involved in Sebastian's life as well.
Yes, ma'am. Very much.
Right. And how would you describe that relationship, the two of them and the four of you?
It's relatively good. I mean, we talk regularly. He talks to his son on a regular basis, sees him on a regular basis. He's involved in school and therapy. And I mean, he didn't have any extracurricular activities, but I can tell you now, if he did, his dad would be in the front row.
In 2 different households.
See, that's what I don't get. You know, they were trying to give Seth some respect here, you know, like as being Sebastian's father. And then you hear the first time, you know, Katie's ever brought up, it's like, wow, you know, Seth, geez Louise.
And the communication between the three of us is great. I mean, yes, we're just like every parent. We all have our disagreements, but in the end, we come together as a team and we work and we come up with solutions that as we best see fit. I mean, I'm almost in contact with him almost daily.
All right, Greg, why don't you go first?
Yeah, so this one I'm only going to cover a couple of things. If we want to talk about the relationship between the family, there's certainly something going on here. But anytime you get a family with a step parent and all that kind of thing, there's going to be some kind of disagreement. But if you don't believe it, he tongue juts when they're talking about how good the relationship is. She uses a qualifier relatively, and she does pursed lips. So there's something going on between them. There's some baggage back and forth. It could be around, you know, I read that he's pretty stern about the use of the cell phone, and he says that here, says that we don't allow him to use it freely and that kind of thing. There could be disagreement with the father about that. And then you get to this baggage about where a child lives. So I'm not going to read anything into it. I'm just going to say you might even get different opinions from the father than you're getting from the stepfather and the mother, because that's the way relationships work out.
The rules are different in each house.
You know, you don't tell me. And then I've recently read that Sebastian was supposed to move back in with the father at the beginning of summer. Look, while we're at this, let's stop for just 1 second and say, do anything you can. Go look at posters of this kid, push these posters through your social media network, do anything you can to help people find this kid, whether he's safe or whether he's not safe. Let's get this kid some help right now and do as much as you can. Social media is a powerful tool. Broadcast this across everything you own, and we may actually get some help for this kid. Chase, what do you got?
Totally agree. So the stepfather here seems to be eager to grab onto this big question that the reporter brings up. of not being able to find where he is. And since we aren't seeing clusters of other behavior, I think this is more likely out of a desire to appear innocent, which, keep in mind, you still see in innocent people who logically understand that they're probably a suspect. Then how would you describe his relationship? And talking about the biological father, this is a question from the reporter. There's a strong pronounced tongue jut there. And this indicates disagreement or maybe getting away with something, but I think we're seeing disagreement here more likely. And this isn't spelling out guilt or innocence. And most families have some kind of contention between biological and step parents, even if it's small. It could show up here with this tongue jut behavior. Again, tongue jut is not a cluster. So as he goes forward to describe this relationship, there's some disagreement and some signs that they don't get along all the time. But not only is that common, he's been openly saying it. He's open about talking about that and pretty open about the relationship not being perfect. And his blink rate when the biological father is mentioned also goes upward. And I would not say that any of this would indicate a likelihood of suspicion or doubt as to his involvement. And I'm glad they're strict on the internet usage. I wish I had started at a younger age for that. I didn't know how dangerous it was. Scott, what do you got?
How old were you when you first got on the internet, Chase?
Yeah.
I don't know.
We remember because we were in the decades old when we got on the internet.
I remember when it started happening, and on the news they were talking about this thing called the internet, and they would spell out this HTTP, www, and all this whole thing you had to go to get mail from somebody or to go to some site, and you'd go. It was so archaic, but at the time it was like, wow, look at all this, and then people now have just grown up with it like it's nothing,
I still have an AOL Messenger account.
I wouldn't be telling that, dude.
I remember the first ever email that I sent on CompuServe.
Who is it to?
To Douglas Adams, writer of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. He put his email address at the end. He wrote the editorial at the end of the first edition of Wired magazine in the UK. And I wrote him an email going, "Hey, Douglas, I've got email. It's really cool." And he wrote back saying, "Yeah, it's really cool, isn't it?"
Wow. My first one was to Bootsy Collins. And I thought since I had an AOL account, he would have one too. So I sent it to, Bootsy Collins at AOL.com, and somebody wrote me back, it wasn't him. And I was like, dude, so it wasn't him.
Well, my first one was Behind the Firewall, Chase. You'll know all those systems.
Yeah. Scott, what do you got?
Okay, sorry, man. Yeah, as she starts her answer, they start rocking in tandem again. So for a few seconds, so they're locked up. I think emotionally, they're feeling the same thing, although she looks dramatically different than he does. This happened a couple of times already, as we've talked about. So it's really interesting to see that happen. It's like matching and mirroring. That you do things you're not conscious of that make you look like that person, or you do things with that person that you're not conscious you're doing. So the big when she says he says the big question mark, she says the big question mark, he's vanished, and the mother whispers like that. I think what's going on there is when, like, quite often when you get in these traumatic situations where it's so much trauma, and you hear him say, "Well, tell me about whatever," and years later they go, I don't even remember that week of what was happening. I don't remember what happened. I remember you being there, but I don't remember anything. I think that's where she is now. I think she's so traumatized she's not going to be able to remember what this interview, doing things like that. That's what that looks like to me, because I've seen people like that before, or go through that, and then when you talk to them, they say, "I don't even remember being there. I don't know what I remember that, but I don't remember actually being there. I was gone." So I think that's where she is at this point. And then after the second question, that's when he sticks. We see that little tongue thing come out. It's almost like some people do when they're angry. So it was kind of odd there. And then the mother, she relays this positive information about the real father, which is cool. And then the stepfather relays information that makes him gives me impression that they probably butt heads a little bit, I think. Then he talks about the disagreements with what's happening with Sebastian at times, but then he explains he gets them worked out. The parents get them worked out as they see fit. But this answer, I don't know where this came from. There was nothing asked about that. But then again, I think it goes back to he's just trying to talk, to have something to say, to feel like, to be a part of it, and to connect with everybody on that. And another thing that sticks out is that huge micro expression of contempt when it comes up on that sentence. I'm in contact with him almost daily, because just as he starts that, we see it go up like that, and this side of his face go up. And I'll put a quick little screenshot in there because I'll pull it out to show you. But something at that point, something's not right there. I think that something that's not right is, of course, there's competition, between the two fathers, the real father and the stepfather. There's going to be a little contention there. And so I think that's what that's about. And remember, we haven't heard either one of them say his name yet. No, the only person that said his name is the reporter or the interviewer. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, simply a reiteration of everything that's been said here. Certainly the stepfather here becomes more alert the moment the biological father is board up. I think that's reasonable given the politics of the situation here. It's not irrational to think that would happen to some degree. It's pronounced here because we don't see the father do very much anyway. He's not big, demonstrative with his feelings, so it kind of stands out a little bit here, but it's not out of the ordinary for the situation, I would say.
One of those tape replays.
Did he have any friends that could have possibly contacted him in some way on his phone?
All his friends at school have been questioned to my knowledge, and none of them knew anything.
So this big question mark, he's vanished.
Yes, ma'am.
No one can figure out where or why. All right, so let's talk too about the relationship involved, because the biological father is very much involved in Sebastian's life as well.
Yes, ma'am, very much.
Right? And how would you describe that relationship, the two of them and the four of you?
It's relatively good. I mean, we talk regularly. He talks to his son on a regular basis, sees him on a regular basis. He's involved in school and therapy. And I mean, he didn't have any extracurricular activities, but I can tell you now, if he did, his dad would be in the front row.
In two different households, and the communication between the three of us is great. I mean, yes, we're just like every parent. We all have our disagreements, but in the end, we come together as a team and we work and we come up with solutions that as we best see fit. I mean, I'm almost in contact with him almost daily.
Let's talk about Sebastian. Tell me about Sebastian. How would you describe him?
Sweet, stubborn. He loves to help. He loves running, and he loves to play his games and his fidgets and Uno. Lord, that's one of his favorite games right now. Favorite color is green.
Does he love music?
Oh, God, he loves music.
An eclectic taste.
Probably.
An eclectic. I mean, from as everybody knows, Eye of the Tiger to Eddie Vedder.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So we got Pearl Jam on one hand, we've got Survivor on the other over here. We've got Taylor Swift, and
He's got a big crush on her. I mean, country rock.
no
Classic.
hip hop. We don't allow the hip hop.
Well, he doesn't really
Well,
get
I say
into it anyways.
things.
You mentioned he
don't
loved
allow
running.
the hip hop.
So did he love the outdoors at all? I mean, would something outside that was somewhat outdoorsy be enticing to
So-
him or pull him outdoors?
He loves, like, when we were in California and the school had this lap thing to gain money. It was a fundraiser. And every year I did this many laps. I did this many laps. I mean, I've got t-shirts where they would write on his back. Every time the kids went around, they'd mark a mark on the back and they'd keep running. And he just had marks all the way across his back. He likes playgrounds. He hates being dirty. He don't like being dirty.
Yeah, he's not
Breathe
your
it, Sebastian.
tomboy style child where he goes outside and plays in the mud.
He loves animals, but he's terrified of bugs.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, even a fly, and he's like,
All right, Chase, what do you got?
Both of them are expressing truthful recall when they're listing all these things that Sebastian likes to do. They speak about him in present tense, like he's still around. This shows us a couple of things. Parents who know the disposition of a deceased child are more likely to accidentally default to past tense when referring to them. And parents who speak in past tense about a child who aren't involved can show that there's a finality to their feelings, like they no longer have faith in the child returning. So all the expressions here are genuine and unforced. And when they're both of them discussing his likes and dislikes, they are comfortable. All the facial expressions, the gestures, the movements match the syntax and the timing. They speak about all the things in present tense with genuine joy. And parents who are involved with a disappearance, even if they can look back fondly on a child's behaviors, are still having to manage perceptions and maintain deception, which keeps them from being this fluid and unconstrained in their descriptions. So this fear of being discovered mutes and muffles these expressions that you're seeing right here in this video that look very genuine to me, at least. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, the same. Look, very positive comments around the child. Only one negative one, which is about him being stubborn, which is then kind of laughed off, I think, in a very natural way. To be positive about him. And there's every reason why a child on the spectrum reaching teenage years is going to become more and more stubborn often in their behaviors. Not every child of that nature and not every child, but there is a possibility that this will be a thing for that family at the moment. They get really animated about the Sebastian's love of music. Clearly, that is a joy for them. It's they're proud, both of them. They're proud, especially the stepfather, I think, shows that real engagement with the son around that music piece. They're proud of his love of music and his engagement with music. And I think the stepfather seems to show some kind of strong relationship with the son around that music piece. Not the kind of thing that I would expect from two people who've been involved in some kind of crime around the child. Again, do I know that to be true? No, not what I would expect. So you'd need to give me lots of other evidence for me to see that would show me an alternative to this. Show it to me so I could see it, hear it, touch it. You know, we want evidence to the contrary, not just possibilities and ideas and imaginations around it. Greg, what do you think?
So let's first talk about clusters of behavior. And we always say you need cluster of behavior to indicate deception, but that's not the only thing clusters of behavior can indicate. You have to look for clusters that are positive, clusters that mean something else. Bingo. And there's a great one here. The stepfather's all locked down. He's in internal voice and his eyes zone out. They go out of focus. That means he's thinking to himself. He's inside his own head working. What's consuming him? You could automatically assign guilt to that, but it doesn't necessarily mean guilt. Uncertainty. Other things, we can't tell that. What we can see is a cluster of behavior around to ask about the child. What we expect, and you both have just hammered this one, but what we would expect from a person who is trying to hide that they know the child is dead is not happy when they think about the weirdness of this kid who has all these, 14-year-old kids are mostly weird because they're trying to figure out what being an adult is while they're still a child. And this kid has got a lot of that. And they're amused by that. So he comes out of this absorption, this focus, this internal dialogue with a smile. When they're talking about him being stubborn, yeah, he's that. And you see all of that happiness. We know that a person who knows someone is passed, if you lose a child, you may never get back to the point you think positive things when that child is brought up or when you think about the goofiness of things they did. But you certainly wouldn't be okay with it right now. Good indicator. So clusters can be good or bad. We can see the person consumed by something and he doesn't come out of it into a negative, into a perception management, into one of those tools that we think people who have injured somebody or hurt somebody have. And he uses great illustrators when he's talking about, you love music here, you love music here, Pearl Jam to look at that all these things together. So all of these pieces, and then real smiles as they talk about bugs and his panic when he would see bugs, they're amused by that. All those things are a cluster that usually would indicate this person's not involved. So I'm going to call that one out loud and clear. And Mark, to your point, can I be wrong? Sure. I'm not 100% right. If you think you're 100% right as a body language reader, you have no clue what you're doing. Let's just call that out right here. That's all I got.
All right. Should I go?
I thought you'd go.
Yeah.
In that case, Scott, do you think
it always seems like I go because I talk first. That's why I'm last again. So I've forgotten. It's okay now. I'll be okay. So just not to reiterate all the stuff you guys went over, not to make it boring. The one thing that I think when they were talking about music, and they started talking about, he started saying how he doesn't let him listen to hip hop, and she says, well, he doesn't like that anyway. I think he was just putting that in there so to show that he cares about what he listens to, because I think music is probably important to him. Yeah, because a lot of people think hip hop's not music. Well, it's not his kind of music. But it may be one of those things where he doesn't want the kid out repeating what he said, in something that's rap. But he may just talk it and get his hind end busted.
One of those tape replays.
Let's talk about Sebastian. Tell me about Sebastian. How would you describe him?
Sweet, stubborn. He loves to help. He loves running, and he loves to play his games and his fidgets and Uno. Lord, that's one of his favorite games right now. Favorite color is green.
Does he love music?
Oh God, he loves music.
An eclectic taste. An eclectic. I mean, from as everybody knows, Eye of the Tiger to Eddie Vedder.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So we got Pearl Jam on one hand, we've got Survivor on the other over here. We've got Taylor Swift, and
he's got a big crush on her. I mean, country, rock, classic.
We don't allow the hip hop.
Well, he doesn't really get into it anyways.
Things.
You mentioned you love running. So did he love the outdoors at all? I mean, would something outside that was somewhat outdoorsy be enticing to him or pull him outdoors?
He loves, like, when we were in California and the school had this lap thing to gain money. It was a fundraiser. And every year I did this many laps. I did this many laps. I mean, I've got T-shirts where they would write on his back. Every time the kids went around, they'd mark a mark on the back and they'd keep running. And he just had marks all the way across his back. He likes playgrounds. He hates being dirty. He don't like being dirty.
Yeah, He's not your tomboy style child where he goes outside and plays in the mud.
He loves animals, but he's terrified of bugs.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, even a fly, and he's like,
If Sebastian was able to watch this, and maybe he's watching this as it airs, and if he is, what do you want to say to Sebastian? What do you want him to hear from you right now?
oh gosh, that we love you so much, and we want you to come home, and you're not in trouble.
I guarantee you he is loved. And trust me, the open arms are waiting for him to come home. From every parent to every family members to probably everyone in the community. But there's no malice. That we just want our boy home. Badly. But
That mama's heart, I know it's daddy's too, but I feel like there's always that extra special bond. Can you walk us through what you're thinking right now?
I just want my baby to be okay. I don't know where he's at. I don't know where he's at.
Let's talk about the community, because I want you all to know, even my church body. I mean, we're all praying.
I mean, I must be
return.
blind. I am blind in one eye, but and deaf, and blind again, and no emotion, no empathy. I don't know why am I seeing a grieving family right here? Why am I seeing two grieving family members and not a lot of other people are seeing it? That's what I don't get. Someone's gonna have to come in here with some, like, a fact, like she did this. This is why we think she did it. Or I don't know. I just think they made my heart break, but maybe it's just me.
Quickly, what do you all want to say to the community?
Thank you.
with everything from the bottom of our hearts. I would not have imagined how far this has gotten, but there's no way to repay the gratitude, the love that we have felt from the community, the prayers. But thank you.
But
from the
don't
bottom of our
stop
hearts.
looking.
Yeah, please.
My son is somewhere.
Just say until he's home.
I'll go first on this one since I've been going last every time, just about. So I think she gives a heartfelt answer. That's coming right from the heart. That's a mother who's grieving right there. And he doesn't know what to say, so he goes in this cornball thing about the family and open arms and all that. But the thing that bothers me is when he says there's no malice. That's lawyer talk. So, and then he tells, I'll skip that part. So that probably says he's probably spent some time in court. Obviously, he has. And then when he says that, for the reason he would be in court talking about malice, makes me think he might have a little bit of a temper on him. But it's neither here nor there at this point. But it sounds like he's trying to convince the mother that he feels for the child. And then we see that upheaval of emotion on her. And that's the thing I always talk about. What's missing from someone who is innocent? You see that. And I think that was when she closed her eyes and she's rocking back and forth and talking in a real quiet volume. And then it hits her again, that horror of what's going on. And she almost loses it there. She shakes out of it, and then she ends up putting her hand to her mouth. Now, if it had been fake, I think what would have happened was she would have done that and put her hand up to her mouth at the same time. But it was just, it was not even a thought, but it came up after that. I think we almost watched her lose it. I think we were really close on that. So I think that's real. But I don't think the dad knows what the word gratitude means with the way he's using it. So I think, again, that lets me know he's just talking and adding stuff in there just to have a lot to talk about during that. Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, I think this emotion is real. I'm going to probably be a little bit of outlier here, but I think the emotion is real. I can't tell you why. I mean, we can assume we understand why, but if it were not real, listen to the interviewer. Now, the interviewer, interestingly, has been using the past tense to describe this kid all throughout the interview because, that's what she does for a living, and she's gotten to that point. When the mother comes apart is interesting because they ask the question, if he can hear you. Now, I'm going to assume that that's because she's taking the gravity of the moment, but also assume if you had some part or feel like you had some part, even if it's just guilt because the kid is gone, you would have that same emotional outburst or emotional release. Because if you think you caused the person to disappear, if you think you did something that caused that kid to run away, and then something happens, you would feel a hell of a lot of guilt. So is it guilt? Is it feelings of sadness just from sadness? Can't tell that. What we can see is it's real emotion, heartfelt, feels it, and you can tell it by the person coming in. There's also one on his side that makes me feel a little uncomfortable, not the malice piece. Well, agreed, that probably is something he picked up from someone else. He says, we just want our boy here, but with a big old tongue shut. That's awkward. Now, that could be, Chase, you brought it up early, that he has a feeling of something, he's trying to project something else, but it's awkward. This is the single most awkward thing in the entire video to me. And it would not be if he just said, we want our boy home, but if he didn't do the tongue shut, I'd say, okay, just one weird pattern of words because he's had a couple. But it just makes me want to lean over and tap him and say, why do you say but? Why? Are you losing confidence in the search? I would make it about something else to get him to talk. But look, guys, this is an emotional time for these two people. It doesn't matter what's causing it. But this area, I would focus on those two just to pay attention and listen to their words moving past this. And we will, and see if something comes back up to give us some indicator. So far, I've heard things like, we heard things about friends, and we heard things around in trouble, around resistant and spat, and so fighting. So there's probably been some baggage associated with this that would cause her to feel something. So I'll give her the benefit of the doubt there and say, Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, you're right, Greg. The but is, whatever the weather, is certainly a loss of confidence. What that loss of confidence is about, given that there's a lot of a setup of needing hope, especially at this point, and it could be a loss of confidence around that. I don't know. Could be. It's speculation that I'm having. Okay, so I would say you're absolutely right. The mother is close to not being able to contain her emotions anymore. It's affecting the interviewer now. We hear that interviewer's voice change when the interviewer talks about the community. We can hear that interviewer taking on the same rhythm and emotion as the mother. I would say the father has been in cognitive empathy throughout this, and he's now moving to emotional empathy. He's close to joining in with emotional empathy for the mother, close to having the same emotion. My assumption is he's been playing the role of strength and order during this, just as maybe Chase or Scott, I can't remember which of you said, if both people start taking the role of going down that well of emotion, like who's there to control that? You've got to have, if everybody goes down that route, it's complete chaos. Nothing wrong with going down that route, but in a partnership, you kind of need, one partner to hold on to the steering wheel while the other goes down that route, and vice versa. Who knows what happens with that stepfather outside of an interview, and what happens with the mother outside of that interviewer. The two roles could change instantly. Here's what I like about what I hear at the end of this. Don't stop looking, and the stepfather immediately comes in with pleas. Well, for somebody, if we're thinking here that this is somebody who's involved in a crime, you'd never jump in immediately with pleas. You'd hold back with that. You'd wait and see. This ain't over till he's home, and that stress on home. So look, I think for me, from what I see there, from the evidence that I see in this particular video, there seems to be quite a conflict here between the hope of getting the kid home and a reality at 8 days in as to but what's the likelihood at this point? Statistics never look good at 8 days. Chase, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, y'all have some really great points, just really insightful points here on this. And I agree, this is what true grief looks like. When the reporter suggests Sebastian's watching, you can see it on her face when she's trying to come up with this. These expressions are almost impossible to fake. But if you're on the other side of the fence and you were thinking of maybe people are really good actors, hold on for a second. These actors that you're thinking of do several takes. They know the script, they prepare ahead of time for the script, and they prepare the emotions to display. And this reaction was instantaneous on her face in response to a question that she didn't know was coming. So when she says, "Oh God," there's the emotional pinnacle of truthful expression and genuine grief there. So just imagining him watching is causing this reaction, and the thought of being able to speak to him. I've watched 1,000 of these things, give or take, and I've never seen a reaction like this in a person who was guilty or involved. Never. And when she's saying, "I just want my baby to be okay," so often we hear people who are involved saying they want answers. Keep that in mind. They want answers to some of these questions. This woman doesn't care about how people see her. She's not managing her words and how she's being perceived. So when you're guilty and you know the disposition of a child, there's plenty of emotional and cognitive room to worry about how to come across. And when it's genuine grief, the desire to manage perception goes out the window. Keep that in mind. You can hear the emotional empathy, Scott, like you pointed, or whoever that was, in the reporter. And you don't hear this in other cases with the reporters, ever. Let's have another. Let's have another.
Boss me around when it comes to the videos. I'll get to the other.
Go to the next one.
We're going straight to 11? Or
think we
Go to 11.
11. Next video.
One of those tape replays.
If Sebastian was able to watch this, and maybe he's watching this as it airs, and if he is, what do you want to say to Sebastian? What do you want him to hear from you right now?
Oh gosh, that we love you so much and we want you to come home and you're not in trouble.
I guarantee you he is loved. And trust me, the open arms are waiting for him to come home. From every parent to every family members to probably everyone in the community. But there's no malice, that we just want our boy home. Badly. But
That mama's heart, I know it's daddy's too, but I feel like there's always that extra special bond. Can you walk us through what you're thinking right now?
I just want my baby to be okay. I don't know where he's at. I don't know where he's at.
I've always said that there is nothing like a bond. There is nothing like a bond between a mother and her baby boy. And it's coming from a 100% female, but my mama, my brother could do no wrong in her eyes. Really. I mean, but there's just, I don't know. I guess there's always something about your firstborn too, but you know, there's just nothing like a mother-son bond. I feel so bad.
Let's talk about the community, because I want you all to know, even my church body, I mean, we're all praying for his safe return.
Yeah, Sebastian, you need to come home. This is
What
this
do you
is
want to say to
long
the
enough.
community?
Thank you.
with everything from the bottom of our hearts. I would not have imagined how far this has gotten, but there's no way to repay the gratitude, the love that we have felt from the community, the prayers. But thank you.
But
from the
don't
bottom of our
stop
hearts.
looking.
Yeah, please.
My son is somewhere.
Just say hello until he's home.
What do you want to say to our viewers? Anybody who's watching, we've got a lot of folks in this community and in other counties just throughout the state as well. What do you want to say to them?
Help spread the word and keep searching, and thank you. And just if you think you see him, call him in.
Thank all the viewers, everybody that's helped from across the board. I mean, everybody has been tremendous.
Call his name.
Yeah.
He'll answer, and if he doesn't answer, he'll look, even if he's not being verbal at the moment, because he can talk, but sometimes he don't talk. Call his name. Tell him to stay put.
He could be on the move, so keep checking your properties.
Yes, like the search is never over until he comes home. That is for
So
sure.
smart.
But thank you for everything that everybody has done, has volunteered, the continuous efforts. I mean, it's like I said, I've never seen something to this magnitude before.
Our community is amazing.
We're all praying, hoping, and searching for Sebastian's safe return for that day. Thank you both for
Thank you.
talking with me.
Okay. Second. There we go.
All right, Chase, what do you got?
So one thing that all of us look for in every video that we look at is change. How does a person change from one way of behaving to a different way of behaving? In this whole video, we don't see a lot of it. Both of their behaviors are consistent and continuous throughout this whole thing. And here's why this is so important. When you're innocent, behaving like you behave requires almost zero cognitive effort. No one's focusing on their behavior because they don't feel the need to. The camera being present might add a layer of stress here, but that's acceptable, and we can see the difference between that, I promise you. But being consistent through all of this, no matter how much training somebody's had, if you're guilty of something, I would say it's as close to impossible as it gets to fake at this level. And Mark, you're an actor. You've been to all these famous acting schools and stuff. Mm-hmm. Can you help us just to understand like how hard this would be to fake at this level?
Here's what makes it really hard is when you're acting, the audience have to get it. You're communicating, so it can't be muddy. It's got to be a clear communication, which means you can't have lots of things going on in your mind. You've got to have a clear through line. And that's what makes really good actors great communicators, but not necessarily supernatural. You know, I mean, you know, they don't come across as natural. You go, God, they're a great performer, but that's not what somebody would do in real life. What you're seeing here is real life. It's muddy, it's chaotic. Some of it is very, very subtle. Some of it's very, very clear. So none of this is like an actor would actually do. I would say acting is an art form, a communication and expression, and what you're seeing there is real life. 24 times 30 times on 30 times a second right now. So hard to fake. And even good actors, they don't get awards because they were really natural. They get awards because they were very, very communicative. Hope that answers your question. Yeah. Chase.
Very cool.
Perfect. Look, here's what I've got on this one. She's got a clear strategy, which is urgent. Call his name. And the father jumps in with yes. Anybody I would suspect who is engaged in a crime in some way would try and put a barrier in the way of this. Like, here's why that won't work, or we've tried that, or, they would put in barriers in the way because they don't want, somebody who's involved in a crime does not want the evidence to be found and will consciously or unconsciously put barriers in the way there. And look how the mother then acts out the son. If there's any change in baseline, Chase, that's one of our biggest changes in baseline, as she kind of takes on that spirit of the son and performs how he would perform in that situation. If she knew that he's not alive, she wouldn't be doing that. You wouldn't perform in that way. That's her taking on that live son in her mind. Scott, what do you got on this one?
It'll be short and boring, so don't go over what you guys have got over again. We're seeing everything we should see. So in other words, what you guys are saying is we're seeing everything we should see. It looks real to me. It looks like it should look to me. Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, just a few things. A couple of that come out immediately is exactly what you said, Mark. Sometimes it's very muddy. It's not the clear thing that we expect. And add to that guilt. A child is missing, guarantee you there's guilt. And I don't mean that they're guilty of doing something. I mean, they feel guilt. Imagine yourself, if your dog escapes and gets lost, you feel guilt. Imagine that compounding many times over by an only child and by a child who is reliant on you. So there's going to be some of that. There are two things I'd point out here. One is when she says, call his name, he will, you see something in his face of concern. And I think that concern is maybe often the mother is going to think the child is more communicative than he might think because he was an outsider coming in the child's life. He may be thinking, well, maybe, but you can see something fleet through his face very quickly. It doesn't like grief or shame or any of that. It just looks like, I'm not sure about that. And then his nostrils flare. If you're about to cry and you're trying to contain emotion, often men will flare their nostrils, especially in the South where people are not maybe as emotionally broadcast as some other parts of the country where certain cultures may be more demonstrative. Old South is very contained, and you may be seeing that. I just see that. I think he's close to emotional at the very last thing.
What are you trying to say about us people in the Midwest or, eastern part of the country?
So nothing new. That's all I got for this one.
One of those tape replays.
What do you want to say to our viewers? Anybody who's watching, we've got a lot of folks in this community and in other counties just throughout the state as well. What do you want to say to them?
Help spread the word and keep searching, and thank you. And just if you think you see him, call him in.
Thank all the viewers, everybody that's helped from across the board. I mean, everybody has been tremendous.
Call his name.
Yeah.
He'll answer, and if he doesn't answer, he'll look, even if he's not being verbal at the moment, because he can talk, but sometimes he don't talk. Call his name. Tell him to stay put.
He could be on the move, so keep checking our properties.
Yes, the search is never over until he comes home. That is for sure.
So smart.
I think you might be right, Debbie.
But thank you for everything that everybody has done, has volunteered, the continuous efforts. I mean,
I know that Seth did say he went in
I've never seen something to this magnitude before.
Our community is amazing.
But for some reason, I'm thinking that he went in early to work on his car. Now, I don't know if that's why he was there early or not.
We're all praying, hoping, and searching for Sebastian's safe return for that day. Thank you both for talking with me.
He actually did come in here. I forgot. He actually did come in here and say that I didn't take into account of this, and I should have, because I used to live with a bunch of correction officers. There was probably there's 4 roommates altogether, so 3, and they all left for work an hour and a half, an hour early, and maybe they worked 10 minutes from the house, but they'd stop and get snacks on the way, or they'd want to get parked in there early because you have to go through security and all of that stuff too.
One more thing.
All right, let's go around the room and talk about what we think we've seen. Mark, how's it looking to you?
Look, I mean, so much of it looks absolutely fine. I mean, not fine. There's a kid missing. Nothing fine about that. But my attention wouldn't be on these two at this point. My attention would be on, can we get some more information from the outside in terms of where Sebastian might be at the moment? I'm sure we'll be able to put a link down there. If you see something, if you have some information, you go to that link. Let's put our energy there. Certainly that's where I'll put my energy. Chase, what do you think?
Yeah. Let's talk about this Nintendo Switch for just a second. I promise. My son is 15, and we all use these iPhones here, and I put every parental control known to mankind on that phone. The guy that works for my company used to be a manager at an Apple store. He walked me through the whole thing. I didn't screw anything up. And he's like, oh, can I lay with my phone tonight so I can listen to an audiobook, turn the permissions on for Audible? Entire phone unlocked the next morning. Whole thing. I tried it again, unlocked. So let's not discount that this switch could very well be getting on the internet, and there's other reasons for him to be on the internet, talking to people and stuff. The testosterone is at like an all-time high in his life right now. And there's so many apps out there that like self-destruct messaging and stuff. So we're praying for him. And I think this video stands as a testament to how differently honest behavior looks. And if you go back and look at it, how wildly different it looks from some of those other videos that we've looked at. And if you have any information about Sebastian, please reach out, or any missing person. One call could bring a child back to their family, even if it feels like it's insignificant. And if you have any information about Sebastian, call 1-800-TBI-FIND. TBI-FIND. Greg?
Yeah, let's say that again, 1-800-TBI-FIND. Call that number if you have any contact with this guy. If you see anybody, if you think you've seen him, call, because they need every lead they can possibly get. Let's talk about some of the words used in this interview. And I agree with you, Chase. Let's compare this to all the others we've seen where we're laughing. Did you hear us laugh a whole lot in this one? Actually, it is kind of low key, because we're not laughing. We're not saying, look at that knucklehead. We're not usually laughing at the case. We're laughing at people's attempt to hide something that they've done. And we're not doing that, if you notice. They use the word fighting. They said in trouble. They said resistant. They said spat. They said, stubborn, didn't like to go outside. What we hear a lot is there's likely been some altercation, not angry, fighting, hurting the child, but there's been this disagreement that's been escalating, is what you hear. You'll have all the friends he can possibly have. And if you watch this whole video, you'll find the mother talking about friends and about him always wanting friends. So, Chase, I'm with you. If a kid has access, and you said it earlier, Scott, I didn't grow up with all this stuff in my hands, so I don't think about IT things the same way a person who's had that in their hands since they were born does. So kids are a lot smarter at getting out of stuff. And it doesn't matter whether he's on the spectrum somewhere, how he learned to do something you don't know. His memory may be much better than yours. So whether he got access to friends that weren't friends, whether he got access to friends that got him out of the house, we don't know any of that. We can't read minds. We can't tell any.
Well, I didn't know that was at the end. And that's what I've been saying this whole dang time. I mean, I'm just saying. Tanya said, titanium built me. I think, and this is just me, I think some kids did this. I don't know why. I feel like some kids snuck him, got him to sneak out of the house, don't wear shoes. For some reason, they convinced him not to wear shoes. Maybe, I don't know why they would convince him not to. Maybe they said they had a pair that they would let him, wear, but. But I think Seth was at work that morning too, early. I just realized that my earring bent. That's really awful. I've had these earrings forever, guys. How did I do that? Lordy. Oh my God, are they both bent? What the hell was I doing? What did I do to my ears today, guys? Okay, well, we don't know. Just toss those over to the side. It was just kind of like stuck in my ear weird. No, I don't think kids snuck into his house. No, I don't think. I think that he went out. I think the kids convinced him to go out. And I think maybe they were going to beat him up. And once they, I've went over other cases before where this has happened. And just Skylar Niece, we just went over it. Skylar was out in the cold woods for 2 months, and they weren't going to find her. Her two best friends that unalived her decided to come forward and say, yeah, we did it, and here she is. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. That's just where my head went. But I mean, everyone has a different opinion in this case. I mean, I feel like a lot of people think that Katie or Chris had something to do with it. There's people that think Seth had something to do with it. Even if it wasn't directly, maybe indirectly, he had someone do it for him. I personally don't think any of the parents had anything to do with it per se, unless it was something indirectly. Do you know what I mean? As their result, like a result of their action. Like, let's say he ran out of the house because he heard Katie and Chris they were over on the phone, and he overheard them say something that wasn't, that he didn't like. And so he ran out the door. I just don't really, I don't know. I've tried to do like maybe the night he had a nightmare and he ran out, but I just don't see him doing that. You would think you'd run to your mom's bed, or he was lured out by a cute female who works every time. Squeaky, you might be right. Or because and it says in multiple like interviews, he wanted to, belong, he wanted to have friends, and I'm just wondering. Yeah, I think that's why they're keeping the devices longer, Richard, is so that they can see about the gaming. Because at first, remember, Sebastian wasn't online at all. And then Seth said he came out and said, well, he gets to play online whenever I play with him at my house. Then it went to, well, I'm at work 12 hours a day, so he has the internet whenever I'm not there. To Katie let him use the phone one time to look up Taylor Swift on YouTube. So it's like, what? Do we not have internet, or do we have internet? I mean, I guess we could still consider that not having internet. Because, I mean, he may not have it all the time, but I don't know. That's true. Yeah. If he had been, unless they had a date planned, and it was a date and a time and it was planned. I mean, I don't know. But Wiz sounded like she ate some good food earlier. I saw that. We just left the state, went to Mississippi. Hey, I almost made it to Kentucky. I was like right on the border, and I was like, you better take me to the hospital. I don't know where to go. I don't know. My mom had to drive 2.5 hours to come get me and a friend. He stayed too. He's like, I'm not going if you're not going. I was like, well, I'm not going. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. Played mobile games with Uncle Taco. I forgot about Uncle Taco. We got to go back through this whole case one day and do like an open panel, because we would need an open panel because I won't remember everything. But just go over the different players that have inserted themselves into this investigation. There are so many that we forgot about, I bet. But thank you guys all for coming and hanging out with me tonight. Appreciate it. And see, look at that. It's only 10:30. Got the rest of the night off. You can go watch your news at 11 if that's what you do. I don't know. My mom used to always watch the news at 11. Maybe I should do that. I like the news here. Really? I don't know, Ren, but let me know. And I'll be down to go to Taylor Swift's old home that's abandoned. How do I get? I mean, if I could sneak on the property, I'll do some I'll wear camo and do some like ninja stuff, some rolling tucks, That could be fun. Oh, you saw the home of Elvis Presley. That's what Isabel wants to do. I hope she gets to do that. Because if she does, I'm gonna make sure. I'll make sure. Yeah, I mean, I would be like, Vincent, we need to take a ride. We need to take a little 6-hour, 7-hour cruise. But yeah, let me know about that. Because I do love me some Taylor Swift, and that would be an excuse. We drove 6.5 hours. Was that 6.5? Man, we did. We drove 6.5 hours just to go to the Delphi Bridge. Was that really 6.5? No, that had to have been 3.5. Let me check that real quick. Hold on a second. I'm like, because I knew we had to be gone from the house for a while. Like, we were getting our place redone. I'm like looking on maps. Delphi. Monon High Bridge. I might want to put it in there, right? Okay, so it's actually 3 hours and 11 minutes, not 6.5. Because I was like, dang, did we really go 6.5? But no, it was all together. It was like 7. So But if you ever want to check out that video, it's on my playlist. I did post the next installment in the Idaho 4 season 2, like I think it was like episode 3 that we were doing for that series. It's just the podcast if you guys want to check it out. And I did put video up to it so you guys have something to look at. I put that video out yesterday. I'm going to try to put out the next one tomorrow or the next day after that, sometime this week. And then on our next live, maybe we'll go over this other one with Peter Hyatt, because you guys said you like Peter Hyatt. He does one over Sebastian's dad. I didn't know this one was here. So maybe we can listen to this side and, on our next live, and we'll see what they say over, about him. If they say they believe Seth is telling the truth, and the behavioral panel thinks Katie and Chris are telling the truth, maybe we're getting somewhere. But you never know. No. The new family went, nuh-uh. Brainwashing, yeah. I usually will watch the News Nation if I do watch the news. I can't watch like Fox. I didn't realize how political Fox got, which I mean, it's a whatever, you know what I mean? I'm not doing politics on my channel, but like, it's literally, it doesn't matter. It doesn't, like, if you know me, I don't have a political bone in my body. I called Donald Trump's wife, Ivanka, last night. Like, come on now. I mean, we're 3 wives past that or something at this point. So you guys know I don't know my politics, but Fox has changed. I used to really like Fox. I'm wondering if that's why Nancy left Fox. That's TJ. I want to know why too. I want to know why we're not, maybe I don't know why we're not getting any press conferences. It could be because of all the madness. Where do we start? But it would be nice if they did come out and say, hey, this is what we've got. This is what we need. We don't have that. And the parents, and just something about the parents, like if they're, if they've taken lie detectors, if they passed them and all that, just something. Yeah, man, it was just too much. Dream catcher they are. People are nuts in this case. All the new Amityville house. So the next family, another family went in because one family went in and they're like, ain't for me. And they left. And I was, oh, man, who would want to buy the Amityville home? Y'all know what's up in there? Ghouls, galls, gimblins. I don't know. Man, I don't like haunted stuff. I don't like haunted stuff. I'm one of those people, if it's dark in the room and I think there's a ghost in the room, I'll be waking up Vincent to search for a ghost. Like, even if it just pops in my head, like, oh, is there a ghost in here? I'll be like freaking out, looking around. He puts up with a lot. Oh, man. That's so funny. Melania, yeah, that's her name, Melania. She doesn't seem like she Melania's letter was nice. It was a nice letter she put out, but I couldn't remember her name, and I was like, yeah, fuck. I'm like, what year am I in? I don't even know when they were married, but I know it was that was one of his first wives, wasn't it? You have an old house. Oh, Vince would never live in an old house, not a day in his life. Nope, wouldn't even go in one. Nope. I love old homes. I think that they're beautiful and they have character, and the wood panelings of them. And then like half of them have like wood floors. If you just rip up that ugly orange, 70s carpet they decided to lay in a lot of those homes, they're beautiful. But he's like, no. He's a very upgrade minimalistic is kind of how as we call ourselves. 2 girls and a boy at the Watts house. The dad is in jail. Yeah. 2 girls and a boy at the Watts house. Oh, and the dad's in jail for DV. Oh my Lord. They should just burn that place to the ground. Just burn that place to the mother loving ground. I'm I guess it's a blessing I didn't come in on the Chris Watts case because I would be heated, a lot more heated. Do you know what I mean? Like I already get heated about that case, and that's just as a spectator. Like I didn't even get on YouTube during that case, so I don't know anything other than what was on mainstream. You all know the stuff, and I just can't even handle it. Oh, nice. 1890. Oh, I bet it's so beautiful, Stephanie. Oh, I bet that house is beautiful. Where I grew up, oh, I love it. Where I grew up, like they have the downtown, they have all these old homes, and in front of each home, it has like a placard. And it'll say like built in 1801, and it'll say like what, like who built it and what the house name is. Like a lot of those houses have like little names, and I'm like, that's so cute. Used to be a dress shop. That's so cute. They say Shannon haunts the Watts house. Maybe. But at the same time, we want Shannon, Shanae, we want her to be with her babies, you know? We want her soul to be at peace. I don't want to think that she's there haunting it. But then again, maybe a little piece of her there is haunting it. I mean, you know, like sprinkled a little bit of myself over here. Don't get out of my house, people. I mean, that would just be, I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could live in a home where somebody was unalive, especially children. I couldn't. No. 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 Now that I'm thinking of it, because that would just tear me up inside. That really would. But we went through a lot this week already, you know, on the old YouTubes. Misinformation. We got the, you know, the former president, you know, he was almost taken out. It's been a crazy week. And then we had like 4 or 5 people in Hollywood die all on the same day. I was like, what is going on? Yeah, sometimes I can't move on till justice served. Yeah, that's true. But I hope, well, maybe we just need to get the other one in there, the girlfriend. Really? Petaluma. I'm gonna write that down because we go to California every year. Now I don't know if we're going. Well, I mean we are. I just don't know when we're going this year. You used to live in a funeral home. Okay. You win. You win. Oh, not a day in my life. Not a day in my life. Did you get a hearse? Is there a garage for a hearse? Like you could you could park like 3 cars in there, like back to back, like, you know. Them things are pretty long. Man. I do like to get scared though. I like to be scared, but I don't like to be scared. I'm a funny person when I get scared because I just like laugh and it just, I don't know. I'm pretty funny because I try to make it like it's not real, and then I just freak out anyway. But thank you guys so much for being here with me tonight. I appreciate it. I'll be back on tomorrow, live sometime. I'm not sure. We'll probably do right around this time. See how this time sticks with us. That way, if we do a longer live, we get out of here and it's still not too late. That way I'm not waking up Vincent too much either. Poor guy has to work at like 8 o'clock in the morning. He has to be up like at 6 o'clock. Yeah. He's never said anything to me, but I always feel bad when I go in there because I always go out after the live and I'm like, are you awake? Even if he's not. And he's like, I am now. But thank you guys so much for being here tonight. I really, really appreciate it. The Morguisham Basement, I love that. That place has a lot of history. But thank you guys all for being here. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe button, and share the content. I will be back on, like I said, tomorrow night with you guys. So I will see you guys all tomorrow. Have a wonderful, wonderful day tomorrow. Bye, guys.